Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the MHA What If with another fanfiction. This is the move of What If Deku Forgot Who He Was? All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku was walking home as those words replayed in his head over and over. To take a swan dive off the roof of the building, Izuku couldn't even cry anymore, he was just in shock. Why would he say that? What if I did take a swan dive off the roof, then what? Would he even care? He kept walking lost in his thoughts until he suddenly felt a presence behind him. Before he could even react, he was being suffocated by a weird slime creature. "Thanks kid, you're my hero," the slime says. It's like the universe is trying to mock him at this point. He was suffocating and could hardly think, and he was sure he was about to die when he heard a voice. "Have no fear, you are safe. Now that I'm here, that is." He stopped choking and fell to the ground. When he looked up, he's All Might. Izuku quickly stood up. "Sorry for getting you caught up in my villain fighting, but you were a big help. Thanks." All Might started to fly off, but before Izuku knew what he was doing, he grabbed onto All Might's leg. "Let go!" All Might yelled. If I let go, I'll fall," Izuku said, trying to be heard over the rushing wind. "Good point." All Might flew up until he reached the rooftop of some random building. When Izuku got off, All Might was about to leave when Izuku asked, "Do you think a quirkless person could become a hero?" All Might thought for a while before saying, "No, I don't. Heroics are too dangerous for people without quirks, but there are other ways to help, like being a police officer or doctor. Just try to keep your dreams realistic, kid," he said, walking down from the building, leaving Izuku on a rooftop, alone with his self-deprecating thoughts. It was like the world was just testing him, saying, "Do it. Here's your chance." Izuku looked over to the rooftop and was seriously considering it. He stood there. The #1 hero, the symbol of peace, Izuku's idol, basically just gave him a reality check and crushed all his dreams. Izuku walked towards the edge. Then he noticed something happening from afar. It looked like a villain attack. The same villain that attacked him, and now the villain was attacking. Izuku squinted hard until his eyes widened in realization. He sprinted down the flight of steps and running towards the scene, not caring about many things right now. Sure, Kaken just told him to kill himself and basically made his life a living hell, but he didn't care. The teachers were right, Kaken had a lot of potential in him. If Midoriya couldn't become a hero, then he'll at least try to save the future hero. He ran into the slime, looking around trying to see what action would fit best, considering it was literally just all slime. He thought about letting the pro heroes help Kaken, but when he realized they weren't helping at all, he felt a slight twinge of anger and disappointment. He wanted tea. The eyes aren't made of slime. If I hit them, it could give a chance for Kaken to breathe, Izuku thought. Without a moment of hesitation, he threw his backpack at the villain's eyes, and it worked. The villain faltered and let go of Bakugo, even if it was just for a moment. Then All Might finally showed up and finished off the villain. A little while after, Kaken yelled at Izuku and some pro heroes, scolding him for being reckless. A realization hit him. If I didn't hit the villain, Kaken would have died, and it would be the hero's fault. Izuku started to get angry at the thought of the pro heroes not being able to save Kaken if he wasn't there. "If you're done scolding me for doing your job for you when you obviously had no intention of doing it, then I'm going to be on my way now," Izuku said, cutting off their rant. The heroes looked shocked, and before they could get another word in, Izuku bolted out of there, running as fast as he could, not feeling like dealing with anything else. When he opened the door, he was immediately tackled by his mom. "Izuku, my poor baby, I heard there was a villain attack. Are you okay? Are you hurt at all?" "I'm fine, Mom." Izuku forced a smile. "I'm just a bit stressed." Inko didn't look convinced but didn't press. "How about I make you some katsudon, and we can just settle down a bit?" Midoriya let out a small genuine smile before saying, "Yeah, I think I would like that." After finishing his food, he took a breath and decided to ask his mom a question he's been wanting to ask all week. "Hey Mom." His mother looked over from washing the dishes. "Is there something you need?" Yeah, actually I wanted to try out a sport maybe? Inko put down the dishes and walked up to Izuku while smiling. Of course, sweetie. What kind? I was thinking about parkour and maybe a self-defense class? Izuku hesitantly said, afraid of what his mom might think about it. He was about to start frantically making up an excuse on why, but his mom beat him to it. Izuku, you don't have to explain. If you want to go, you want to go, and I'll be here to support you. Inko smiled reassuringly. Now, you should get to bed so we can find some parkour classes tomorrow and figure out the self-defense stuff. Okay, Mom, I love you. Good night. Izuku yelled as he ran to his room, excited that she actually agreed. Considering he was expecting her to be disappointed, he still showed signs of wanting to be hero. But now he didn't want to be a hero necessarily, he just wanted to help people. I wonder if there's a word for that? Izuku said, pulling out his laptop. He started searching up illegal heroes, not really knowing what to put in the search bar. He kept scrolling past all the links talking about heroes who have done illegal stuff and stopped at a word called vigilantism. He clicked on the link and it explained it was a hero without a license, illegally using their quirk to help people. Well, technically I wouldn't be breaking the law considering I don't have a quirk. But you would probably be charged for assault, a strange random voice said. Not if they attacked me first, then it'll be seen as self-defense and I'll be saving someone. The other voice seemed satisfied with that answer as it became quiet. Now Izuku knew what direction he wanted to go to. Now the hard part. How the hell is he going to be strong enough to beat villains with quirks while he's quirkless? He didn't have an answer for that and just prayed that after a couple of months of parkour and self-defense class will do. He knew it wouldn't, but right now he should probably go to bed considering 2:34 a.m. was flashing in red on his digital clock. Izuku sighed as he got in bed. I heard there was a beach. That's very dirty. Maybe I can start there. And with that thought, Izuku drifted into sleep. Izuku woke up a bit later than usual since his body was overwhelmed from the villain attack. He stayed in bed and just stared up at the ceiling until his mom bursted in his room saying, "Guess who just got you enrolled in a parkour class and self-defense class?" Izuku, still a bit tired, smiled and got up to hug his mom saying thank you. Yes. Alright. So it says you're going to start next week. You have Monday and Wednesday to do parkour after school and Saturday and Sunday to do self-defense class starting at 1 p.m. Parkour should last for 45 minutes, 1 hour, and self-defense will last 1 hour or a little later. Now I have to leave for work, so call me if you have any questions, which I'm sure you do considering you're Izuku Midoriya. Izuku laughed at his mom's antics. Okay, Mom. Have a good day at work. Bye, Zuzu. And with that he heard the front door shut. Izuku remembered about the beach that needs a major cleanup, but he didn't want to explore it right now since his limbs were a bit sore, so instead he resolved to his number one, probably no scratch, that definitely illegal hobby, hacking. He didn't mean anything bad when he said hacking. He just meant being able to get on websites only underground heroes and a selected few mostly informers/vigilantes can get on. Okay, when he thought about it, it does sound kinda bad, but the website had lots of information he didn't know about and fights he can analyze. Also some missions he can try to solve, though he never posted any of his solutions, scared of what everyone's reaction will be. It wasn't new when a random person hacks into the website, but it still didn't clam his nerves. He looked around and saw the latest post from user 9274763. Did he mention all the users were random numbers and you can add nicknames people, because if he didn't now he did. It was about a group of villains that are most likely new considering how bad they are at their job. User 9274763. Does anyone have any information on this group, or can they try to figure out what their quirks are from this video? I'm sure I can easily take them down, but I can't keep my eyes open forever, so information will make things easier. Video 06.mov. Izuku clicked on the video, curiosity taking over. Izuku started mumbling all of the possibilities when it all just seemed to click. The guy that has a cap on. Something shoots out. Thin. Other guy. Back. Skin color. Oh, I got it. Izuku's hand hovered over his keyboard, wondering if he should say it. He decided to F it all and that helping would be more important, so he started typing. 3:46 p.m. User 9986757. From my understanding of the video, the guy on the left has a quirk where he can control his hair, making it sharp or dull, doesn't seem to matter, and the one in the air has somewhat of a porcupine quirk where they can shoot out needles that seem to have poison on them out of their back. One way to take them down is to 1. Get some sort of thick blanket with a cleaning chemical and throw it over the guy in the air's back, and 2. The guy with crazy hair doesn't seem to have a mutant quirk, since when Eraserhead looked at him, he momentarily stopped using his hair and started dodging instead of attacking, so he can just erase his quirk. You should probably also blindfold the one with needles because he can't shoot blindly in risk of hurting his partner. Sorry if this wasn't all too helpful. 3:46 p.m. User 9274763. That actually does make a lot of sense now that you pointed that out. It was very helpful, and thank you for also adding a possible plan in your explanation. It will really help a lot. Also, are you new around here? I don't think I've ever seen your UID before. And if you are new, then what should I call you? I hope to work with you again in the future. Izuku's hand stayed still on his keyboard, shocked at how quick the hero replied and the fact that they want to continue working with him. Izuku thought for a minute before typing. 3:48 p.m. User 9986757. I'm glad I can help. And I'm not exactly new here, I've just never really interacted before or posted anything until now, but you can call me Deku. Is there anything I can call you if we do talk again in the future? 3:49 p.m. User 9274763. User 9274763 changed user 9986757 to Deku. I see, that is a very interesting name choice. You can call me by my hero name Eraserhead. Yes, that is me in the video. Have a good day, I have some villains to catch. 3:49 p.m. Deku changed user 9274763 to Eraserhead. It's lovely working with a hero. Hope you catch those bad guys. Izuku was internally freaking out. Like literally. He wanted to scream and go feral. He had just helped out Eraserhead. He had found out about underground heroes not too long ago, and Eraserhead was most definitely his favorite by far. Ecchi. Stash. Izuku slapped himself. Okay, breathe Midoriya, breathe. He decided to go into the kitchen and look for snack to try and relieve some of his stress and excitement. He settled on just a cup of ramen since that's all he was willing to make currently. You know, I could basically graduate from junior high right now. Then I wouldn't have to deal with Kaken. Or anyone really. But if I do that, then what would I do? And mom's gonna worry over me not having a social life, as if I already had one in the first place. Izuku kept muttering and went into his room with his ramen. Oh, I know, if I want to challenge myself but don't want to graduate early, then I could just take those random tests that the principal from UDA kept sending out. I'll just enter my name as Deku, or something, then boom, they can't find my file. I wonder why barely anyone has done those random tests yet? I'll find out another day. I don't feel like taking the test today. Izuku continued muttering, eating ramen, and analyzing fight videos, but now not only with heroes but also with villain-on-villain fights. Those fights were always so brutal to look at, but they let him learn more. Maybe if I'm able to replicate those moves, I could be decent enough and get a head start in self-defense class and parkour class. Izuku pondered. Izuku woke up and looked over to his phone. Why does my body decide to wake up at 8 a.m.? Izuku said, still very tired. He got off from his bed and started stretching and yawned. He went down to the kitchen and got greeted by no one. Mom must have gone to work early today. He grabs a bowl and starts getting cereal. Maybe I'll go to the library, a little extra studying won't hurt. Besides, if I want to have a chance at high school quirkless, then I'll need to work harder or something like that. He mumbled under his breath, knowing full well that he could probably skip the first and second year of high school. After eating and brushing his teeth, he grabbed some money from his allowance in case he needed some and left the house to go to the library. When he reached the library, he just looked around trying to find random textbooks and skimmed through them looking for something new to learn. When he found a couple of books, he checked out and left the library. When he got back home, he placed all of the books down in his room and tried to remember what he wanted to do. I know I said I was going to do something today, but I totally forgot. Izuku groaned, trying to remember. He went out of his room to grab a cup of water and looked around. He looked at the TV his mom forgot to turn off, and on the TV was an ad playing for hero merch. He could hear the TV saying, "And All Might saves the day as always, now you can buy our new limited edition All Might hoodies." News is that All Might may or may not be teaching at UE. So if yo dash, oh, that's what I was going to do, Izuku said, rushing back to his bedroom and pulling out his laptop. He clicked open the link that led to Nedzu's, the principal's, famous test. Did I have to put a name? Well, they don't make you put in a student ID, so I'll be good. How about I go by that? I used it with Eraserhead, so why not use it here? Izuku started the test, and boy, he understood why not many people took it now. It was very, very, very long, but he finished it in 4 hours with some water breaks in between. Izuku stretched his back in his chair he's been on all day and groaned. Sheesh, I basically wasted my whole morning with that test. I see why not many people take it now. It was definitely difficult but not impossible. The question honestly sometimes had me asking more questions, but hopefully I did okay. It doesn't really matter, it's not like it's my entrance exam. In the distance somewhere was a very interested UE principal, wondering who Deku was. Midoriya walked outside, deciding to head to the park for a walk. What he didn't know was that Katsuki was there. When Izuku saw him and his friends, he instantly regretted coming to the park, and he turned around and just decided to go back to his home and live a happy life. Is what he wished happened, but instead, "Hey what are you doing here?" "Oh, hi Kaken. I was just going for a walk," Izuku said, hoping he would just be left alone, but knew of course the universe had other plans. "What's wrong, nerd? Still hoping you'll be a hero?" As if. One of his friends shouted. "And no, I was seriously just going for a walk." "Oh yeah? What about your creepy little stalker notebook you have in your hands? Seems to me like yo dash. Hey, bullying is definitely not okay," a voice said loudly. "How are you going to be heroes if you dash teach, and what are you going to do about it?" Kaken's other friend asked. "I'm guessing you guys, or at least one of you guys, want to go to UE. I'll simply give them your description and point you out in the exam because UE does not take kindly to bullying," the voice said, doing a chopping motion with his hands. "Tisk, whatever guys, that extra isn't worth my time, let's go," Kaken said, for some reason backing down. When he and his friends left, the boy came towards Izuku and said, "Hello, my name is Tenya Ida. I'm sorry for those boys disrupting you," he said, holding out his hand. Izuku took it. "My name is Midoriya Izuku, nice to meet you. Thank you for helping me earlier." Izuku smiled. "It is quite all right, now I have to get going, maybe I'll see you later, Midoriya." And with that, Tenya was jogging off. Izuku sighed, thankful that Tenya saved him because he could see 100 outcomes of how that can escalate and none of them were good. Izuku continued his jog until it got dark. Once he got home, he decided that it would be good to get some extra practice before he went to his first days of parkour and self-defense class. So he resorted to his trustworthy friend, YouTube. He watched videos of fighting scenes, whether from heroes or villains, didn't matter to him, and tried to imitate them in his backyard. Once his mom came home, he decided to stop so he could eat dinner with her, and then he would try to get some sleep because he had school tomorrow. Every day this week was the same. He would go to school, go to the library, jog, and practiced fighting styles, over and over until it was the next week. "Alright Izuku, today is your first week of parkour and self-defense, and I just wanted to say that your self-defense teacher is kind of an old friend of mine. Her fighting style doesn't really seem to have a word for it. It's mostly just a bunch of different stances and punches thrown together, so be prepared for basically anything, okay? Also, when you get to parkour classes, be careful, okay? I don't want you splitting your head open," Inko said, ruffling her son's hair. "Okay, Mom." Izuku laughed and started to get ready for school. Once he ate his breakfast and grabbed his things, he went off to school, excited for his after-school classes he now has. If Kaken noticed him more happy today and running faster with extra stamina, he didn't say anything or acted any different to Izuku's dismay. After school was done, he rushed to the address his mom texted him, and when he got to the big building, he went inside. There were kids of all different ages and all different levels there, jumping and falling. He walked up to the table with a lady there and smiled. Hello, my name is Midoriya Izuku." The lady looked at him for a while before smiling. Oh Midoriya, I remember that last name. Your mother is a very nice lady. Hold on, let me find you really quick. When there. Your first class with Mrs. V starts in 15 minutes, so you can just wait over there and get changed into the clothes in your locker. Oh wait, silly me, she said and gave him a piece of paper. That's your locker number and combo. Don't lose it. Izuku started to try to find his locker, and once he found it he opened it and quickly changed into the clothes. Hello there. Are you Midoriya Izuku? My name is Mrs. V, so if you can just follow me over here that'll be great. Mrs. V said, walking away over to a group of 10 other kids all around his age. Alright kids, we'll start with warm-ups. Ito. Come help Midoriya with the warm-ups, will ya? The kid named Ito nodded and made his way over to Midoriya. He looked around 14 or after parkour he was so sore when he got to his bed he just collapsed and could barely get up. Mrs. V made him start with parkour right away with the class while also teaching him how to fall. And boy he was lucky she did because he was falling. A lot. When Inko got home and saw her son sprawled on the bed she couldn't help but laugh. She decided to not bother him and made him some dinner since he must have been hungry with all that training. Training. Inko knew her son would still want to be hero whether with a license or not. She's seen him on his computer on websites he probably shouldn't even legally be on, but she didn't care. As long as he was happy and smiled his wide bright smiles she was fine with everything. Inko had a feeling he would do things like this ever since the day he got diagnosed quirkless. Even after being diagnosed he was always so determined and still did better than everyone in his class. A lot of people thought he had an intelligence quirk. The days had gone decently fast because of parkour classes and now it was finally Saturday, the start of his self-defense class. Before he went to class Eraserhead had sent a hero his UID so Izuku could help them. It wasn't a hard mission, actually it was quite simple. Turned out one of the villains were deaf and had to rely on his partner who had a telekinesis quirk, so simple solution was to find a way to knock down his partner first. When he sent it, the hero had thanked him and said their goodbyes. It was now 5 minutes until 1 p.m. and he was outside of a building. He didn't know whether to wait or walk in now, but he didn't have to think for much longer as the door had flung open and he was pulled into a one-arm hug that was very strong. So you're Inko's hell spawn, am I right? Midoriya Izuku? The lady had said, yeah, that's me. Izuku was slightly suffocating until she had let go. Well, nice to meet you, Mito. You can call me Za. None of the Ms. stuff though, it kinda weirds me out. Izuku nodded at her request and was soon dragged into the building. Right, so what's gonna happen is that when you first get here you're just going to walk in and start your warm-ups, which I'll give you a list, and then later once you're done we're going to start training. Everyday training will get harder and harder as you progress and get better and better. You'll have a 15-minute break after 30 minutes of class. You can spend this time doing more warm-ups or whatever you want to do. Although there aren't many people here, there still are some people here, so if I'm busy wait till I'm done. That being said, feel free to ask me any questions you have if you're struggling or just curious, I don't bite. She said with a crooked smile the whole time. She started explain my warm-up for today since although she wanted to get started on the hard part of training right away, she also didn't want Izuku to flop dead on the floor. Once he got out he was sure he was about to die and had a lot of bruises, but he still trudged his way towards the beach since he promised himself he'll at least check it out. Once he got there he scanned the area and looked at the mess. While I'm cleaning I could also practice my parkour and self-defense techniques here. They have a lot of stuff to jump around on. Is that a car? Midoriya continued to look around the place and started off picking up small pieces of trash and basically anything he can manage to lift with his sore noodle arms. After a while he looked around and realized he would need a lot more strength to actually get this beach fully cleaned, but it's alright, he'll manage. When he got home he decided to skip his daily YouTube videos of fighting techniques since he just cleaned up part of the beach and was immensely sore. Hopefully my stamina will increase. Then maybe I can go to parkour and self-defense class, clean the beach and learn some things on YouTube all at the same time. Hey mom. Izuku smiled. Hey sweetie, how was you class today? Za didn't bruise you up too much, did she? Inko asked, getting dinner ready. No, it was pretty good. I just took the long way home because I wanted to look at something. Izuku said, heading towards the shower. Good, be quick with your shower. I'm almost done with dinner and I don't want it to get cold. All right, Mom. Izuku yelled from the bathroom. Soon you could hear the shower turn on and the sizzling of oil as Inko makes dinner. For the next few months of school, Izuku was training long and hard, passing out numerous times while still trying his best to help people with random fights. His mom was worried, but she didn't stop him because he never looked so happy ever since the day he found out he was quirkless, so instead she makes sure he takes proper care of himself every day. Izuku had finished cleaning almost half of the beach already, and right now he was just sitting on an old refrigerator, staring at his blistered hands. I really hope I'm ready for this, he says out loud to himself. He grabbed his backpack and jumped off the fridge and starts heading towards his home. Once he arrived, he was greeted with a warm smell of many variations of food. Mom? Is something special happening today? Izuku said while opening the door. There on the table was a small cake with other different types of food. Of course there is. I wanted to congratulate you. I know I don't do this a lot since money can be a tricky thing, but you were working so hard these past 4 months and I felt like I should at least congratulate you with some food. Inko smiled. Do you have any friends you want to invite? If not, then it's alright. I already invited 3 people, one of them in your self-defense teacher Za. The other 2 were childhood friends of mine. I hope you don't mind. Inko rubbed the back of her neck. No. It's alright, Mom, I don't mind. After all, you did all of this for me. Why would I be annoyed at you for inviting your friends? Izuku replied. Inko went over and hugged her son. Oh, Izu, you're too kind. Now go take a quick shower. You smell like sweat and garbage. Izuku chuckled. Alright, Mom, I love you. Love you too. Once Izuku finished taking a shower and changed his clothes, he went into the kitchen and found his mom talking to 2 other people. Ah, Izuku. This is Aki. His mom pointed towards a man with a funny-looking hat. And this is Fry. He's from California and recently moved here with his boyfriend because his university is here. Izuku slightly bowed and said, Nice to meet you, Mr. Aki and Mr. Fry. Fry lightly laughed at Izuku's formality. It's alright, you can just call me Fry, you don't have to use Mr. Izuku nodded at this, and he was about to say something before rapid knocking was at the door. Oh dear, Inko giggled, that must be Za. She opened the door and there was Za, smiling brightly. Oh, Inko, you don't know how excited I am for this. There's my boy Izuku. Za exclaimed, walking over and messing up his hair. Look at you. You have more muscles than when I first saw you, and you don't smell like sweat. Za looked over and saw Mr. Aki and Fry. Hello there, my name is Za. I'm Izuku's self-defense teacher. Za pulled out her hand and the men shook it. While they were talking, Inko smiled and walked over to Izuku. Well, come on, let's eat, I'm sure you're hungry. I've never seen you this interested in a student before. What did they score? Present Mike asked. They scored a 92% and it only took them under 4 hours. Principal Nedzu replied. Wow, that little listener is smart. What's their name? Mike said, looking away from the phone he was texting from. They put their name as Deku. No one has that name in any of the schools in this area that can enter UE, so they are either far away or they are using a nickname of some sort. Deku? That's a strange name to choose. That's exactly what I thought, but we'll find them eventually. If you hear anyone talking about someone named Deku, ask them about it. Alright, will do. I have to get going now or else Mr. Grumpy will get mad. Bye. Present Mike yelled before leaving the school grounds. It was around 1 a.m. and Izuku's mother was asleep while Izuku was in his room contemplating life. Izuku grabbed a 5-foot steel pole that was decently light but also very good for whacking people on the head. Izuku laughed nervously. As long as I don't get a part of any big villain fights, I should be fine. Izuku let out a sigh. Alright, time to perform technically legal activities, he said, trying to distract himself from his nerves. He climbed out his window and got on top of the roof. Here's to hope that all those times I fell in parkour were worth it. Izuku got in a running stance. He ran to the edge of the roof, and once he felt the edge, he leaped onto the next roof, one of his legs on the side of the roof with his hands holding the railing. Alright, that wasn't too different from jumping from random objects in the beach. I got this, he said, trying to convince himself. He was just planning to practice his roof hopping that night when he saw a girl trying to grab her bag away from a random guy. Oh, that guy most definitely has a gun. Izuku thought, seeing the object in the man's hand, but I can't just let her get mugged. Izuku sighed, and before he could have a normal, sane thought, he rushed down from the roof and sprinted towards the two. He tried to act faster than the mugger and swiped his pole in an upwards motion, disarming the guy from his weapon. What's this? A child trying to play hero? Beat it, kid. The man said, pulling out another gun from his pocket. Izuku stayed silent and focused on the girl instead. Call the cops and try to stay safe, he whispered in her ear. She nodded and backed off, pulling her phone out. The guy was about to shoot the poor girl and Izuku was panicking, so he started to spin his pole in a circular motion, attempting to block off the bullet, and it worked. Wow, I thought that only worked in the movies, he whispered. The bullet ricocheted off and skimmed the guy's leg. Izuku flinched slightly at the sight of blood but took this chance to tie the guy up. He took off one of his beaded bracelets that was made of really secure rope and tied him up next to a pole. Sure, the bracelets were pretty obnoxious and colorful, but that was the fun in it. Besides, no one can see it under his dark green hoodie anyway. When he heard sirens far off in the distance, he went over to the girl and handed her her bag and said, "Stay safe." He then ran off onto the rooftops, and once he got to a seemingly safe spot, he took off his mask and was breathing from the adrenaline rush he just got from that fight. That was pretty decent fight over there for a new time vigilante. Izuku instantly got up and turned to the voice who said that. It was Eraserhead. Izuku's eyes widened and he tried to run away. The vigilante started to run away, but before he could, Aizawa caught by the arm with his capture weapon when he was mid-air. He heard a slight pop followed by a high-pitched yelp. Shuda's eyes widened his realization that Vigilante could possibly be as young as 16, and he instantly tried to be more gentle. He loosened his capture weapon and asked, "Are you all right?" The Vigilante took this as a chance to run and started jumping to the next roof. Is this kid insane? He could possibly have a dislocated shoulder, yet he still runs. Teach, problem child, Shoyuta thought as he ran after the Vigilante. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, was all Izuku could think about as he was basically racing the pro hero he helped with missions online. Izuku, with his newfound adrenaline, has never ran faster in his life. Actually, he didn't know he could run that fast before. He tried to think of a good way out. So what did his totally sane brain come up with? Jump off a roof and pray you live. And so he complied. He jumped off the roof, not missing the shocked face of the hero as he went airborne. While in the few seconds of falling, he saw a ledge near the ground and grabbed onto it and swung himself so it made his fall less painful. Once his feet touched the ground, a surge of pain went through his ankle, but he didn't stop running until he made sure the hero wasn't following him around anymore. Once he climbed through his window and into his bedroom, the adrenaline was finally no longer there and the pain in his foot grew stronger. "Fuakuk," he whispered, changing into his pajamas. "After all that falling, I still can't land correctly." He scolded himself. He then realized the pain in his shoulder, but he was too tired to care, so he just went to bed and decided to ignore it and deal with it in the morning. And now it was the morning and he had to deal with it. He told his mom that it was from when he fell off the bed at night, which was very believable because his mom said she did half wake up to a thud. She just told him not to do too many things today that involved his arm and left for work. His summer consisted of a lot of outdoor vigilance and indoor vigilance, playing as Deku and Akan. Normally he would say Deku was just an informant, except for the fact that Deku has actually called a couple of heroes mid-battle and gave them information of what to do, so the media decided to call him a vigilante instead. Because of the calls, this led him to buying a voice changer. He studied a lot in his breaks and spare time, but even he was running out of things to learn, so his mother suggested opening up a coffee shop since she now has less days of work because of the summer. So that's what they did. Izuku would usually help at front, getting people's orders. The cafe was cat-friendly, so although the cafe was called Viridian Coffee Shop, people would usually just call it that One Green Cat Cafe. He only worked less than 1 hour and 30 minutes a day because he was still just a kid in his mother's eyes, but he was thankful for this since he does need a lot of time as Deku, since being Deku was like a full-time job. Over time, Eraserhead had calmed down enough so that he wouldn't attack Akan right away. He actually found Akan helpful, but he would never admit it. Boo! a loud voice said, making Aizawa almost drop his coffee and a bag he was holding. The green vigilante clutched his stomach and started laughing. "Oh man, you should have seen the look on your face," Ikan said, his voice distorted from the voice changer he had on, but Eraserhead can't help but remember the vigilante's real voice and how young he sounded. "Oh haha, if you wanted me to throw the stuff I got you off the roof you could have just said so." This got the vigilante to tilt his head in confusion. "You got me something?" he asked. Eraserhead nodded and handed him the bag. "You got me boba?" Ikan asked. "Well, I remember you saying you didn't like coffee because it made you more tired and it was bitter, so I thought boba would be the next option," the hero said, taking a sip of his coffee. Well, you have good taste for boba," gasp. "Is this crystal boba? I love crystal boba," Ikan exclaimed. "Did you just say gasp like the word?" Ikan smiled under his mask, stifling a laugh. Aizawa rolled his eyes. "I will never understand kids these days." "How are you sure that I'm a kid?" Ikan questioned. "Well, considering your height you seem like you're still growing, but obviously I can't judge you only off of that, so I'm just going to go with your extremely high-pitched scream the first time I met you." Ikan started stuttering. Well, it is not high-pitched," he said, pouting and turning away. "Oh, and that fact that you act like a 5-year-old." Ikan started muttering angrily about how he was going to steal all of Eraserhead's coffee the next time he comes. Eraser looked at his watch and said, "All right, kid, I need to get going now before my roommate gets angry for me going out past my patrol time." Ikan gasped dramatically. "The emo Eraserhead has a husband?" "Yeah, no, not dealing with this, see ya later, kid." And with that Eraserhead ran home while Ikan was plotting something. "All right, Izuku, you have everything right?" Inko asked again for the 5th time. "Yes, Mom, you already asked this 1,000 times. Midoriya whined. I know, I just want you to do your best on the exam, okay?" Inko said, ruffling her son's hair. "All right, Mom, bye." "Love you," Midoriya said as he ran out the door. Inko couldn't help but smile. Midoriya was now walking towards the entrance exam when he saw a boy looking kind of nervous. He didn't know if he should talk to him or not, but before he could decide the boy had saw him first and asked, "Hey, are you taking the hero course?" No," Izuku said, surprised. "Oh darn, I don't know what to expect or what to do, I'm so screwed," the boy said frantically. "Well, I think you should do what you think is right as a future hero no matter the situation, since this is a hero exam. Sorry if that's not much help," Midoriya said. The boy thought about it for a while before smiling. He sighed, "Thanks, that helped me feel a bit better. My name is Kirishima Ijiro. And my name is Midoriya Izuku. Nice to meet you," Izuku said. "I hope you do well on your exam," Kirishima exclaimed, walking away to his exam. "Oh, you too," Izuku responded. Izuku continued his way to the classroom where they'll be taking the test. Izuku didn't fully know what to expect, but he was thinking it would be somewhat like the test the principal had up online, but actually it was quite easy. With how fast he was answering the questions, he started to doubt himself because he was going a bit too fast. He made sure to skim through and double and triple check all of them, but he didn't end up changing much besides 10 questions. Sheesh, I'm either some sort of genius or I totally just flunked this test, Izuku thought. Knowing my luck, I probably flunked it, but I might as well turn it in now or never. And with that, Izuku got out of his chair and handed in the test. He was the first one out, so he just kind of awkwardly sat there in silence, surrounded by his own self-deprecating thoughts and doubts. "Hey!" Izuku flinched at the sudden noise. "Aren't you supposed to be taking the exam?" one of the teachers at UE asked. I already finished the exam," Izuku said. The teacher looked at him surprised, then smiled. I see, my bad, have a good day. I hope to see you in the student list." The teacher walked away. After a while of sitting there, another student finally finished their exam from a different classroom. He had purple hair and looked like he hadn't slept in years. He looked at Midoriya and said, "So, do you know what we're supposed to do?" "We're just supposed to wait here until the rest of the students are finished," Izuku replied. "Oh, well, my name is Shinso Hitoshi," Shinso said, sitting next to Izuku. "My name is Midoriya Izuku," Izuku said, holding out his hand. Hitoshi accepted and shook it. After a couple minutes of sitting in silence, Midoriya finally broke it. So, what's your quirk? He asked. Hitoshi dreaded the moment because he knew it was coming. Oh, it's a brainwashing quirk. There was the silence he expected. Next he was sure that Midoriya Wow, that's so cool. How does it work? Do you simply look at them? Or do you need to touch them? How far can you go when controlling them? Like, can you make them do things they didn't know how to do? Can you control their quirks? Midoriya kept asking more and more questions, leaving Shinso wide-eyed. He did not expect this reaction. Midoriya thought his quirk was cool and not villainous. Sorry. I was rambling again, wasn't I? I just get excited when quirks are mentioned. Izuku said, rubbing his neck. Oh no, it's okay, I just wasn't expecting that is all. I was expecting you to say something about it being villainous. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Do you want to be a villain? He asked. Shinso shook his head no. Izuku relaxed, smiling again. Then no, it isn't a villain's quirk, because you aren't a villain. Shinso slightly smiled at this. So what's your quirk? He asked. Izuku started before he was cut off by a bell. Well, alright, students of Gen Ed. The voice from the speaker said. Your time is officially up and you may leave the school. We will be sending your letters about whether or not you got accepted soon. See you later. Hopefully. Today is the day Izuku would receive his letter and he was stressed. Tonight can change depending if he gets accepted or not. If he gets accepted, he'll stay home instead of going outside to do borderline illegal shit. If he doesn't get accepted, he'll take his frustrations and failures out on the poor souls that try to do something illegal that night. He finally got his letter and he was pacing back and forth with it in hand, too scared to open it, with his mom on the couch typing on her laptop. Izuku, sit down and open it, he heard his mom say before sighing and closing her laptop. We'll open it together and no matter what the paper says, I'll still be proud of you for trying, okay? Izuku took a deep breath and sat down next to his mom. He opens the letter with his shaking hands. Tears started forming in his eyes and his mom sighed. Izuku, it's fine if you didn't Mom, I made it. I really made it. I got in. Izuku shouted, hugging his mom, still crying. Inko smiled and hugged her son back. Oh, I'm so proud of you, sweetie. Once school started, Izuku was so excited he couldn't stop his hands from shaking. He wasn't looking where he was going, so it wasn't a surprise when he bumped into someone. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you. Izuku apologized frantically. No, it's fine, I should have moved out the way first, the bubbly girl said. My name is Uraraka Achiko. What class are you in? Midoriya Izu, I'm in class 1C. Izuku stuttered in response. Darn, we're not in the same class. I'm in class 1A, maybe I'll see you at lunch? Uraraka asked. Oh yeah, sure. See ya. And with that, Izuku headed towards class 1C. His classes weren't out of the ordinary except when everyone had to say their quirks. That part was a little awkward, but he got through it for the most part. Right now he was just glad he made it to lunch without badly embarrassing himself in some way, shape, or form. Midoriya. Over here. Izuku heard a voice yell. It was Uraraka. Izuku smiled and walked over to her. She was sitting at a table with another stern-looking kid. The kid looked familiar. Ah, it's you. Izuku said, realizing who it was. Greetings again, Midoriya. It's good to see you made it here too. Ida said. Oh, perfect. You two already know each other. Uraraka smiled. Well, Mito. You'll never guess what happened at class today. Izuku tilted his head a bit to indicate he was listening. All Might is our teacher. Can you believe it? Uraraka was now basically bubbling with excitement. Wow. That's amazing. Izuku said with a smile, although it was forced. The three talked all lunch, mostly just geeking out about weird things before it was finally time to head back to classes. Classes were uneventful, but honestly he couldn't care less, he was just glad to be here. He saw Shinso a couple of times down the halls and waved to him, and sometimes they even had small talk, but they never last long since he tries to avoid Kaken all the time. One student had caught his eye throughout the whole day though. It was one of Endeavor's kid. Izuku believes his name is Todoroki Shuto. He just looked so bland for the son of a man so hot-headed like Endeavor. He thought he would be somewhat like Kakin, but no, he was completely different. The next day when he went to school, the front gate had been surrounded by civilians and the press. I guess word got out about All Might. Does he even have a teaching degree? Well, he certainly shouldn't be a therapist, Midoriya thought. He tried to squeeze through the crowd, but a bunch of microphones were shoved in his face. How's it like with All Might as a teacher? A person asked. I'm in general studies, so I don't really can dash. Once the words left his mouth, the lady rolled her eyes and shoved him away, trying to get to other students. Izuku took this opportunity and sprinted as fast as he could into the school. Once he got in, he finally stopped and leaned on the wall, sighing. Huh, you got caught in the press, huh? Shinso said, walking up to him. Yeah, wait, how'd you get out so fast? Midoriya asked. I just came here early, duh. At these words, Midoriya groaned. Ugh, lucky, I should have listened when my mom told me to wake up early. Shinso laughed at this. How dare you laugh at my pain? Izuku said dramatically, clutching his chest. This made Shinso laugh even harder. Okay, Drama King, let's head to class already. Izuku nodded and followed Shinso's lead until they had to separate ways. He waved Shinso goodbye and went towards his classroom. Classes quickly went by and he was back at lunch with his friends with the addition of Shinso. Hey guys. This is my friend Shinso. He's from class 1B. Izuku said, smiling. Ida Tenya, pleasure to meet you. Hello. My name is Uraraka. Izuku told me a little bit about you, so it's nice to meet you. Shinso just smiled and waved at this. They all sat down and ate lunch until the alarms went off. Someone broke into the school. A random student yelled. Everyone was rushing and running towards the exit. The four followed in pursuit. Hey, Uraraka? Izuku asked. Yes, what is it? Do you mind making yourself float to see what's happening? Oh, good idea, Mito. Uraraka pressed her fingers together and started floating. Oh, it's just the press. Uraraka said. But how are we going to get the other students to realize that? Midoriya looked at Ida. All right, I can handle this. Ida responded. Ida ran up and stood on top of the door and started yelling, saying it's just the press and everyone needs to calm down, ECT. Once everyone calmed down, Midoriya went over to Ida and said, Great job out there. You really did look like a hero. Ida grew flustered at this, well, as flustered as a robot can, but that's besides the point. Thank you, Midoriya. Yeah. You were awesome, Ida. Uraraka jumped up and down. I do admit that was pretty impressive since we're all just first years. Shinso smiled, or well, tried to. After that eventful mess, everything went back to normal and student went back to class. This is worrying. How could the press break into Yui? There's definitely more to it, no question, was the only thing Izuku could think about all day. When Izuku went home, he felt uneasy about the whole situation. He was on his way home from parkour classes when he overheard a group of people talking in an alley. So they're really planning a break-in? Inuit. To try to kill All Might. Voice 1 said. Yeah, what a bunch of idiots. Is it even possible to kill that smiley freak? Voice 2 asked. Beats me. Voice 1 replied. League of Villains my butt. Unless they have literal God on their side, then it would be foolish. Voice 3 spoke. Hush up. People may be around, and since we're not All Might, we definitely wouldn't stand a chance against them if they knew we accidentally spilled their plan. Voice 4 said. The group nodded in agreement and the rest of their words were whispers. At this, Izuku took it as a cue to leave. Oh, I'm going to be late and Mom's gonna worry again. Izuku muttered under his breath. He's been listening in for so long that it was dark now. Even so, he pulled out his notebook and wrote all of the information the voices had said. He stopped walking and leaned on the wall next to him, still writing in his notebook. After a while of writing, he felt a hand on his shoulder and yelped. A slight look of recognition flashed on the stranger's face before he shook his head. Isn't it a bit late for a teenager to be out? Oh, my bad, I was too busy writing to realize how late it had gotten. Izuku replied, suddenly anxious because the stranger was literally Eraserhead. Here, I'll walk you home, it's dangerous out. Eraserhead said. Izuku nodded and led the way to his house. Once they were there, his mother greeted him with a bone-crushing hug. "Oh sweetie, I know your sense of time is horrible, but please at least answer some of my texts," Inko said. She looked up and realized Eraserhead was there. I'm so sorry if my son bothered you in any way." "No, it's fine, I'm in Pro Hero," he pulled out his license, "and it's my job to make sure he's safe." "Thank you again though," Inko said. Eraserhead smiled and went on his way while Inko turned towards Izuku, still squishing his face in a tight hold. "Young boy, you had me worried sick, make." "Got it?" she said with each word pulling on his cheeks. "Oh. Okay, I got it," Izuku replied, instantly rubbing his cheeks once she let go. "What will I do with you?" Inko sighed. "Anyways, how about some Katsudon?" "No reason in particular, I was just wanting some myself." At this thought, Izuku nodded eagerly with a bright smile. They both laughed and went on their way to the dinner table. The next day, Izuku knew he had to think of a way to stay home. He knew he needed to get to the USJ before the villains arrived. Izuku groaned and put his hands over his face. "How the hell am I gonna do this?" he thought to himself. He walked towards his mom's room where she was getting ready for work. "Hey mom, I know the school year just started and all, but I have a really bad stomach ache, probably from something I ate last night when I was outside. Is it okay if I stay home today?" Izuku asked, praying that it works. Inko sent him a concerned glance before sighing. "All right, if it gets really bad call me and we'll go to the doctor, okay?" Izuku smiled widely. "Okay. Thanks, Mom." Inko sent a smile back. "No problem, sweetie. Now go back to bed before your stomach ache gets worse." Izuku nodded vigorously before speed walking back to his room. Once Izuku heard the door click, indicating his mom had left for work, he quickly got his vigilante supplies ready and opened his laptop. After a while of scrolling, he found Eraserhead's contact and started typing. 7:20 a.m. Sorry, I'm aware you have classes today and a field trip happening. Please don't ask how I know that, but I have some important warnings and red flags. Please do note I have no concrete evidence of any of the things that I say besides me eavesdropping in person. There is a chance that there will be an attack in the USJ, including a group of villains who call themselves the League of Villains, or the LOV. They plan on attempting to kill All Might, but considering they're villains, they wouldn't mind hurting your students. I know there isn't much you can do, but at least be ready for anything. The chance of this being real are low since I didn't hear it from the LOV themselves, but a chance is still chance, and I wouldn't want you or your students to risk to getting badly injured. I'll try to find out more about the LOV right now. Sorry again in advance for sending this to you so early in the morning. 7:22. Eraserhead. Although I am still worried about how you know about my schedule, I won't push it. Thank you for sending me this information. I will warn All Might and everyone attending the USJ to be on their guard. Also, how did you happen to eavesdrop? Do you do vigilante work? 7:22. I don't do vigilante work. I happened to be passing by and the group weren't exactly being very quiet. I am strictly only an informant and analyzer. 7:23. Eraserhead. Okay, just checking because your typing style reminds me of a way a local vigilante talks. But then again, I shouldn't judge based off of that since typing style can be very different from how most people interact. Izuku was sweating even if it was chilly in his room. I'm so stupid. Why was I getting so careless with my personality? At this rate he'll figure out and connect the dots. Izuku screamed in his mind. He sighed and looked at the time. He got in his vigilante outfit and quickly hacked into UDA's camera system to disable a few cameras just to find that all the cameras and communication systems were turned off. Oh, that's not good, he thought. Maybe I could use the website on my phone. Or is that too risky? Who cares? Izuku says, pulling out his phone. 7:46. Important news. The cameras in U.A are all disabled and it was not by me. Please stay aware of your surroundings at all times. The chances of them attacking All Might will go up. Please tell All Might to postpone coming to the USJ for a bit, because I have a feeling that they aren't just cocky and they genuinely have a plan to kill him. Please stay safe. I'm very sorry for my grammar mistakes and everything else. I am currently on the move right now and it's hard to type with one hand. 747. Bracerhead. Thank you for the warning, but I'm worried about why you hacked into the U.A system, but we'll talk about that later. I'll tell All Might to arrive a bit late. Also, you saying you aren't a vigilante while hacking into U.A camera system and saying, I am currently on the move right now, is not very reassuring or logical. Yes, this is me saying I'm very suspicious of you right now. Izuku almost face-palmed himself when he realized he basically just told Eraserhead, hey, I'm a liar and a vigilante LO loser. Izuku quickly put his phone in his pocket and kept sprinting towards UA. The bus had just arrived and students from 1A were going in. He waits until the bus starts moving and then chases it from above on the rooftops, making sure to avoid being seen. Then Izuku realized something and quickly pulled out his phone again. Speaking on the topic of vigilantes, I sent a text regarding the situation to a couple of trusted vigilantes, so don't be surprised if a couple of them show up, but also don't be surprised if none of them show up. Izuku quickly put his phone in his pockets again and sighed. Having multiple identities is hard. Izuku mumbled. His parkour classes were really paying off and he had a lot more stamina than he did in junior high, thank God. After a while of sprinting, he climbed on top of the USJ building, finding a good hiding spot that's also perfect for smashing a window and jumping in to help anyone. After a while of just sitting there, he saw something that he could only guess was a portal. Huh, a portal quirk? This could be tricky, hopefully it has a cool-down time. He thought to himself. He saw Kirishima point towards it and say something. Aizawa got in a defensive position and started shouting, most likely telling them to stay back and those are villains, something along those lines. Teach, I should really invest in some ultra-hearing headphones or something. Izuku paused his thought for a moment before smiling. Friggin' ultra-hearing headphones. Why didn't I think of that? Oh wait, I did. He shook his head and focused on the scene in front of him just in time to see everyone get teleported into different places. Izuku started sprinting across the roof and found the nearest person before jumping in by breaking a window. He jumped on a slowly sinking ship next to a frog-like girl. Mineta does not exist here. The frog-like girl got in a defensive position, making Izuku put his hands up. Hey, calm down, I'm here to help. He said, surprising himself since he forgot he had his voice changer on. Why should I trust you? Ribbit. She responded, glaring at him suspiciously. Wow. She really just said ribbit. Well, you don't really have much of a choice since we're surrounded by hostile villains. Izuku said. She sighed in defeat, urging him to continue. What's your quirk? Izuku asked, although he already had a guess of what it was. It's frog. It basically gives me most abilities a frog has. Izuku nodded as a sign he heard her. The villains probably don't know about your quirk yet, so they're playing safe until the ship fully submerges. She nodded in response. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to throw a few small explosives and then a big one into the water, which should hopefully create a large enough dent in the water to viscously create a whirlpool effect of some sort. Once that happens, do you think you can figure out a way to get the both of us out fast enough? Izuku asked. I can use my tongue to lift me somewhere high first and then grab hold of you, is that okay? She replied. Izuku nodded. There aren't many high places here, but, Izuku said before digging into his bag and pulling out a weird fabric. This is fireproof fabric that's extremely sturdy. Don't ask how because I don't know either. Once I do the big explosion, it should make us airborne. Once that happens, we hold on to each other and find a place to land away from here. I know it sounds risky since you don't know me and all, but please, I'll do it. The girl interrupted him. Izuku smiled, though it was hidden under his mask. Izuku got the explosives ready and started to throw them at the villains. The villains backed away from them, but some still got caught in the explosives. Izuku then uses the railings to give himself a boost, the frog girl doing the same, and he threw the explosive down and came the blast. The blast lifted them extremely high and the frog girl grabbed onto him with wide eyes, suddenly realizing something. You didn't have any fireproof things, are you okay? She asked. Well, besides from my slightly burnt clothes, I'm pretty much used to getting explosives blown up right in front of me, so I'll be fine. Izuku said. The girl didn't look comforted by that but looked forward anyway to make sure she landed in the right spot. Once they landed, they found Eraserhead/Aizawa fighting a guy that has way too many hands for his own sake. Izuku ran up to them, seeing as Eraserhead was slightly worn out. "Kan, what are you doing here?" Eraserhead shouted with wide eyes. "What? Did you not receive the text from Deku?" Kan shouted back. While they were shouting, the guy with a bunch of hands on his face started giving orders to a weird thing he called Nomu, and started shouting about how they were cheating or something. Kan was forcefully pushed back by the Nomu, and when he said forcefully, he meant full-on punched in the gut. "And here I thought this would be easier. I guess nothing ever goes my way." Izuku quickly got back up and started sprinting and jumping up and down, and he started yelling, trying to distract Handman and the Nomu. He got out some more explosives and threw them at the Nomu, but the Nomu easily absorbed the impact. Izuku's eyes widened. So that's how they're planning to kill All Might. Izuku already knew Handman's quirk after doing a bit of research on the way here, and everything started adding up. He had to find a way to get them to back off. The frog girl came up besides him. "My classmate is calling out for more heroes, if I heard correctly." Izuku nodded at this. "If we can hold off and weaken them before they arrive, we could just be able to beat them," he said, and the girl nodded in response. They started both attacking the Nomu while Izuku randomly switched to Handman to stop him from possibly killing his favorite hero to annoy, while always avoiding the hands that were actually attached to his body. They kept going and going until they finally heard the heroes show up. "Hopefully we weakened the Nomu enough so that the heroes are able to destroy it." He prayed to no one in particular. Once he saw All Might arrive, he quickly sprinted out the way and picked up Eraserhead and moved him out of the fighting scene. He saw Frog Girl jump out of the way too before All Might completely smashes the Nomu, although not successfully killing it. "DMN it." Izuku cursed. All Might and the Nomu were fighting until he was trapped in the portal sort of thing. Izuku's eyes widened and he rushed towards them. "Todoroki! Freeze thing!" Izuku yelled, not caring that he said his name and said his quirk. Todoroki stood wide-eyed before complying and freezing the Nomu, while Izuku got some throwing daggers coated in Haya's sleeping dose and lethal poison and swung it at the warp. It seemed to have hit something as he heard a quick yell and a thud. "Score!" All Might, seeing this, quickly started powering up in a weird way and sent a huge blast, effectively throwing the Nomu out of the building. Handman was shocked at this and quickly retreated before yelling something about All Might weakening. After Handman left, he saw smoke coming off of All Might and his eyes widened when he saw All Might turn into a skeleton-looking thing. Izuku closed his eyes and sprinted away and out of the building, not wanting to invade All Might's privacy. Sure, All Might was the man that crushed his dreams, and although Izuku isn't a fan of him anymore, he still holds a lot of respect for the man himself. When Izuku gets home, he doesn't realize how many injuries he got until he could feel the pain slowly seeping in as his adrenaline quickly died out. He takes his fried costume off and puts some new clothes on. "Gee, I'm gonna have to remake it," Izuku thought while dozing off, half of his body off of the bed. He woke up to a sound of a door opening and someone saying something before abruptly stopping. Once he fully opened his eyes, he saw his mom. He woke up to a sound of a door opening and someone saying something before abruptly stopping. Once he fully opened his eyes, he saw his mom. I cowl, I can explain dash, Izuku yelled, quickly getting up, then remembered all of his injuries and used his bed as support. You see, this is, from tripping on my way to the bathroom. Izuku shut himself up and looked down, knowing his mom didn't buy it. "Izuku, what actually happened? Where did you get all those injuries?" "Oh dear, they look bad too," Inko said, very concerned. She went over to Izuku and sat him down. "Well." Izuku didn't know what excuse he could say. Inko sighed. "Izuku, I'm not oblivious." I never said didish," Izuku started before Inko cut him off. "What I mean is that I've known what you've been up to, or well, rather I had a feeling I knew what you've been up to. All over on the news is new vigilante can, this and vigilante. I know you're past with the word useless, and I just." Izuku was tense, scared of what his mother had to say. "I just wished you would have informed me sooner." Izuku's head shot up in surprise. I could have helped you with your costume and helped you clean up your wounds. Inko looked at Izuku. So, will you finally tell me everything that's bothering you so I can help? Inko said, smiling. Izuku's eyes widened as tears started welling up. Izuku sobbed and nodded vigorously as he put his head on his mother's shoulder while she hugged him. Once he calmed down, Izuku told her everything he was hiding, him being informant/vigilante Deku and vigilante Akan. He told her about the bullying that had happened with Kaken, the suicide baiting, everything. His mother looked concerned, relieved, and angry, but she put those feelings aside as she comforted her son. Later on, she started to patch up her son's wounds and started on his costume. She only did the sewing while her son did the more complex designs. Izuku added the ultra-hearing headphones he was talking about earlier. There was a button on there that when pushed will show a translucent kind of shield for his eyes. They acted as glasses, but considering he doesn't have bad eyesight, they helped him see further. He was thinking about getting another weapon since throwing explosives and swinging a pole around isn't going to save him from everything. Yes, the first thought was directed at Kaken and the slime incident. I'm not skilled at anything else yet, so I should start off with a blade. Izuku thought while adding the finishing touches to his headphones. He called it the UH, standing for Ultra Hearing Headphones. It honestly sounded really lame, but at least the acronym sounds cool. It literally sounds like I'm just saying, as in I'm stalling my sentence. Izuku frowned, at whatever still sounds super cool. He went over to the beach again and started searching for anything of use, specifically for a blade. He ended up finding a broken wooden sword and a lot of metals of all kinds and some other extra things. I can work with this, Izuku said, putting all the things in a duffel bag and heading home. When he walked in his house, he quickly put the duffel bag in a safe place with his other supplies so they wouldn't be found so easily. Don't get him wrong, he trusts his mom. He was just doing this in case anyone ever comes over. Better start a habit now than risk forgetting about it and get weird looks or possibly reveal who you are. Nizu was currently sitting with Aizawa in his office talking about a certain someone and a couple of students that piqued their minds. Ah, I see. So, Deku has helped you with villain cases before? That must explain how he managed to get such a high score. I wonder if I can get to ever play a game of chess with him. Nizu said the last part mostly to himself. Do you mind giving me his UID? I would love to converse with him someday. Aizawa nodded in agreement and wrote Deku's UID down on a piece of paper. Now, since you're here, I might as well get another helping hand on this matter. There are a couple of students who did extremely well on their entrance exam or have done extremely well in the past. I want you, and other teachers, to keep an eye out for them. You can choose yours, although there are only 2 students left, he said, turning his laptop to face the pro hero, showing a blonde kid in Class 1B and a Viridian-haired boy in Gen Ed. The blonde one is Monoma Nito. He definitely has a big personality. His compatibility with other students, especially from 1A, aren't the highest. His quirk is copy. He can copy the quirk of other people with physical contact. This one is Midoriya Izuku. He's definitely more shy and reserved but seems to be decently well with anyone that strikes up a conversation first. He is quirkless but still scored one of the highest on the written portion of the entrance exam while being the first to be done. Whoever you don't choose, Hizashi will take on the role of watching over them. You'll be observing them whenever you see them on your breaks and especially lunch. Whether or not you seek them out first is completely up to you. Nizu finished, still smiling. Aizawa sat in there and looked at the two. While it would be easier to look over Monoma since he has a higher chance of seeing him, Midoriya still caught his attention considering he had bumped into the boy late at night before. I'll mainly watch over Monoma since Hizashi sees Midoriya more, but I actually plan on watching both if that's okay with you since Midoriya is an interesting problem child to say the least. Aizawa's response made Nizu smile wider. I knew you would say that. Thank you for helping out. I will be emailing Hizashi to watch over Midoriya. Oh, if you're curious, on the day you were attacked, Mrs. Midoriya actually called in sick for Midoriya Izuku. Just thought that was important. Aizawa's eyes widened at this. He nodded and took his leave. After an uneventful week of school, besides everyone talking about the sports festival and his English teacher weirdly staring at him more often, he was off at the beach again, cleaning and collecting things. Hello. He yelped at this sudden loud voice. Haha, sorry, didn't mean to scare you there. I'm Hatsum Mei. I'm in the support course in U.A. She said enthusiastically. Oh, I'm Midoriya Izuku, I'm in Gen Ed. All of a sudden she leans in only inches away from Izuku, making him back up. Are you sure? I've seen you around here before and your builds are amazing. Almost comparable to my babies. Why your babies? Izuku said to still hopelessly backing up against a broken fridge. Yeah. And my babies are totally awesome too. I don't have any big ones on me but check this one out, she says, finally backing away and taking off her backpack and pointing to. This is called the hydraulic bracer. It can detect any sort of danger coming and makes you dodge the attack. Cool, right? Izuku nodded. That's actually really useful in many situations. Izuku was about to ask a lot of questions but stopped himself. So what's up with your headphones? Are they just normal ones? She asked, inching closer again. Oh, they help me improve my hearing. I'm not hard of hearing or anything. I just thought this would help at night in case anyone tries to sneak up. He said, trying not to stutter. Hatsum seemed to beam brighter than the streetlights. You better hope you have some more ideas like that because now we're going to become support buddies whether you're in the support group or not. Izuku and Hatsum spent the rest of the afternoon geeking out about different ideas they could possibly make before it got dark and each had to go home. Izuku was currently patrolling around the sketchier parts of town. Even so, he seems to have more of a bounce in his steps. Well, more than usual. He just felt happier now that he had made a couple of friends and even managed to save Eraserhead. Knowing Eraser, he's probably already back up on his feet, although probably not ready to patrol yet. Even so, Izuku couldn't help but feel weird since he's always had Eraser chase him around every patrol. It also didn't benefit Izuku because he was able to test his skills and see how fast he could run and jump when Eraser was present. He heard distant yelling and started running to the noise. A gang fight. Izuku thought as he adjusted his voice changer and grabbed his pole out of his belt holder, which was newly added by his mom, and quickly whacked the buffest man right in the gut. Now, settle down boys, what's with the temper tantrums? Ikan, or Izuku, asked in a doting voice. Oi what if dash. You better get out of here brat, before I kick your teeth in and make you regret that. All four men got in a readied stance, but before any of them could move Izuku had already managed to strike two in the temple, effectively knocking them out. Shouldn't talk back to your mother you know? Ken mocked. Teach, why you little biadash? A lanky guy started to say before Ikan also knocked him out. A knife whizzed past Ikan, cutting his mask, then disappeared. Weapon summoning quirk? Wonder how many he can summon. Izuku thought before saying, using quirks without a license is illegal, you know? He knew he had to make this quick before he could possibly get maimed, so in a split second after he said that he was already running and hitting the guy in the jaw. He got out his obnoxiously brightly colored restraints and strapped all the guys up. He looked down at his watch, also suggested by Inko, and saw it was around 2. I should head back now. He mumbled, then looked down at the limp men. Eraser is usually here to call the police for me. Izuku rolled his eyes and dials in the number for the one and only Tsukachi Naomasa. He might have stolen the number from Eraser's phones, but those are just extra details. Hello. The voice asked. Hey, Tsukachi, just your all-time, lovable, vigilante Ikan here, send you some random street fighters. Already sent you the location too. Aren't I so generous? Ikan could basically sense him getting up and on the defense. How did you get my phone number? He says, probably already sending cops to mostly try to catch Ikan. Ikan just laughed in response and hung up. He started sprinting away from the scene to, I don't know, avoid getting caught? Once he made it back, he saw a cup of noodles placed on the kitchen table. He walked over while smiling. Mom must be really worried, huh? Izuku thought as he slurped down the noodles at an unhealthy rate considering how hungry he was from all the running and fighting. Once he's done, he changes and sits down at his laptop. I haven't been as active as Deku, so I should probably hurry before they get suspicious. Sure, he was there for the USJ attack, but after that, he went offline up until now, and he never does that, especially after big missions. He goes back on, giving heroes analysis on villains and solving minor problems and crimes. He was about to close his laptop before receiving a message. 3:21 a.m. Eraserhead, where were you? I was getting worried since you usually would send some analysis of a big hero/villain by now. I mean, I'm glad you took a break, but warning first, please. I thought you crossed the line and went into villainy. 3:21 a.m. Sorry about that, huh? I just needed a quick break since the USJ was a bit stressful, especially since I heard you were fatally hurt. And no, I would never resort to villainy unless someone's life was on the line. And you know what? Just because of that, Deku has changed Eraserhead to parental insomniac. Izuku, or Deku, laughed as he basically felt Aizawa roll his eyes from here. 3:23 a.m. Parental insomnia. I swear, every day I talk to you, you get more and more childish. Even so, parental insomniac changed Deku to problem child. 3:24 a.m. Problem child. Fair enough, but still. Rude, uneasy face. 3:24 a.m. Parental insomnia. Next thing I know, you're going to use OMG and keyboard smash. How old are you anyway? 3:24 a.m. Problem child. Now, don't start giving me ideas. And no, I'm not giving out info on myself. Better luck next time. 3:25 a.m. Parental insomnia. The faces are going to become a regular thing, huh? 3:25 a.m. Problem child. Go to sleep. And with that, Izuku closed his laptop and knew he was going to regret giving out so much of his personality in the morning. Whatever, future me will deal with that. Izuku thought as he headed to his bed. It was the next morning at school. He was currently in his English class. He couldn't help but feel like someone, specifically his teacher, was watching his every move the whole time. Did I do something wrong? Izuku was now quite anxious. He completed his English packet first, as always, so Priest and Mr. Yamada decided to grade it at that moment. He gave Izuku his packet back and said, "Great as always, Midoriya. I was wondering, have you learned English before this?" "Oh, well, I studied the basics when I was 7B, but I mostly forgot it," Izuku said, suddenly embarrassed at the praise. Mr. Yamada smiled wider, somehow. "Wow. You sure are a fast learner then, huh?" Izuku nodded, still embarrassed. Teach thanks? Although it sounded more like a question. Do you do well in most academics, or are you kinda more of an English person, kinda like Kaminari from class 1A? He sure is an energetic boy. Yamada chuckled at the memory of Kaminari always excitedly putting his hand up for every question since it was really the only academic he could really excel at and beat his classmates. I actually am more of a mathematics and coding person," Izuku responded. Yamada pet an eyebrow. "Oh really? I haven't met many students who are interested in coding." Yamada leaned on his hand, looking extremely interested. "What do you code about?" Izuku didn't exactly know what to say since he can't just tell his teacher that he liked hacking into places that he was definitely not supposed to be in. Luckily the bell had saved him. Yamada stood up and told everyone to turn in their papers and head on to their next class. Izuku quickly walked out, wanting to escape that awkward situation as fast as he could. While he was walking to his next class too quickly to notice his surroundings, he got beaten up by a wall. I can beat up criminals, but the wall is the end of my streak? I can't believe this, Izuku thought, rubbing his now bleeding nose. He stood up and saw Aizawa because the world just loved laughing at his face. "Are you okay there?" Aizawa asked in his signature exhausted voice. Izuku nodded. "Go to the nurse, she'll give you a pass. I don't think your next teacher will appreciate you dripping blood everywhere." Izuku nodded again and started to speed walk to the nurse's office. She gave him a band-aid and told him not to make out with any more walls from now on. It was an understatement to say he was embarrassed. When he walked to his next class, he heard students talking about the sports festival and who they're placing bets on. "Oh yeah, the sports festival, I don't think I'm gonna participate. Too much work." Izuku silently laughed in his moment of ignorance and bliss because here he was now, sitting at lunch with Hatsum and Shinso as they attempted to force him to join by thinking he was foolish enough to accept if they said they would all buy matching pairs of red shoes. Let's just say he was foolish enough to accept. "And you'll wear them with me almost every day, so I don't stick out like a sore thumb?" Shinso and Hatsum nodded vigorously. He slammed his head on the lunch table. "Fine," he mumbled. "Yes," Hatsum yelled, gaining the attention of the whole cafeteria. Now I have an excuse to design support gear with you. Izuku groaned as Shinso laughed. Yeah, you won't be laughing when you're eating my dust. Izuku said, lifting his head and smirking. Oh, are those fighting words I hear? You're so on. Shinso copied Izuku's smirk. Who do you think I should test my gear on? Hatsum asked. Anyone and everyone. Izuku and Shinso say in unison. Hatsum basically sparkled as she rambled about different ways to secretly force the heroes in training to basically be a walking billboard for her gear, while Izuku and Shinso just smiled and nodded, although only Izuku really understood what she was saying. Hi, just wanted to say that I will be taking a break because my father is currently in the hospital. I'm scared of what will happen since no one is telling me what is going on. I won't be posting any more chapters until I know that he's made it out alive or until I'm mentally stable enough. Sorry for the inconvenience. It was 2 days before the sports festival and Izuku had already gotten some gear prior. He decided all he wanted was a retractable, sturdy metal pole. Bow staff? He had already forgotten what it was called, but you understand. The retractable bow staff was placed in a slot in his utility belt. He also brought a pair of these cool retractable skates he found in an ad. What is it with me and ads? Izuku sighed before getting his thoughts interrupted by Hatsum. Aren't you excited, Aizu? Hatsum basically screamed in his ear. Oh, sorry Hatsum, and what's with the nickname? Izuku asked. I just thought it would be totes cute if I gave you guys nicknames, like Shinso is Hito. It's fine if we're not on first name basis, yet, I can stop if you want. She said, rubbing her neck, embarrassed she didn't ask beforehand. Oh no. It's fine. So, what would that make you? Izuku questioned. Hatsum hummed. I dunno, my name only has 3 letters in it, so there isn't much to choose. How about Mei Mei? Izuku laughed. Aren't nicknames supposed to be shorter than your name? Who really cares? It's cute and that's the only thing you're allowed to call me from now on. She said, puffing out her chest. Izuku giggled at her tactics while Shinso walked over. You both ready for the sports festival? He asked. They both nodded, or well, more like Izuku nodded while Hatsum was having a head spasm. How about we all practice sparring and you guys could show me your gear? Shinso suggested. Yeah, that's a great idea. Hatsum beamed at the chance to show off her babies. Yes, babies with a capital B. After a while of light-hearted sparring, Izuku showed off his totally rad skates. Whoa, where'd you get those? I could totally use some so I can roll around and show off my babies. Hatsum yelled at the sight of the skates. Izuku rubbed his neck and laughed. I just found them off an ad online, I'll send you the link later. I've already practiced in them and I would say I'm decent enough to not fall immediately. Hitoshi rolled his eyes. And by that I'm guessing you mean you can already do multiple tricks in them. Izuku nodded vigorously, making everyone, plus himself, laugh. Hitoshi said he was mainly using his fist and legs in the festival, so he brought some protective gloves that travel a bit up his arm and some ankle bracers that were as hard as Kirishima. Hatsum just decided to get all of her flashiest gear that she was able to bring and forcefully use Ida to show it off. Izuku stifled a laugh while Hitoshi just rolled his eyes. After a while they all went home, or well, Hito and Meimei went home. Izuku brought out his duffel bag he kept hidden under the garbage at the beach and pulled out his vigilante gear. He seriously needed to calm his nerves down with the whole sports festival going on, and doing vigilante work seems to do just that. He was traveling on the rooftops, peering down to see if anyone needs help. He passed by an alley and he saw a little girl hiding behind a garbage bin. Is she lost? He thought. He was about to move down until he saw a man walking down shouting, presumably, the girl's name. She looked absolutely terrified. Izuku jumped down and came towards the man, changing his voice changer to match a young adult's voice. Excuse me, sir, are you lost? Izuku tilted his head. The man immediately turned around to face him. I'm looking for my daughter. She has long white hair and red eyes. Have you seen her? The child's terrified expression flashed in his mind. Izuku put his hand up to his waist. Is she about this tall? The man nodded. I think I saw her head down the street. I saw her when she was walking near the convenience store. The man nodded once more and head down the street. After he was out of Izuku's sight, Izuku heads towards the garbage bin. Are you okay? He asked, turning off his voice changer so he seemed less intimidating. The girl nodded. Was that man your father? The girl shook her head no. Izuku hummed in thought. He leant out his hand. Why don't you stay with me until I make sure you aren't injured in any way? Is that okay with you? Or we can just go to the police station right now if you want. The girl widened her eyes and shook her head. And no police stations, she said, barely above a whisper. Izuku smiled. Okay, so my house it is? The girl nodded and took his hand. He quickly lifted her on his shoulders. You all right up there? She nodded again. Izuku started heading towards the beach to retrieve his old clothes and uniform when he was stopped by Eraserhead. What's with the child? She's a runaway, he said while Eri, he's pretty sure that's her name, lightly smacks his head out of embarrassment. Eraserhead just stares at him until he says, buy me a cup of coffee and I won't tell the police. Izuku smiles and skips away to the nearest coffee shop while Eraserhead follows behind. Once they reached the coffee shop and ordered Eraser's signature way too much caffeine coffee, Izuku introduced Eri to all the drinks there and they ended up buying her a unicorn-themed drink not caffeinated. The lady that was behind the cashier just smiled at the three. And here's your drink, little one, hope you enjoy. Lin exclaimed. The boy in the dark green hoodie nudged the little girl a bit. Oh, thank you, miss. The cashier Lin laughed. No problem, sweetie, come again soon. And with that the three left. Lin sighed. Families like those are the only ones that make me happy to work here at such late hours. She chuckled to herself, going back to clean up the place. Akan was skipping down the street alongside Eri, heading towards the beach. Don't tell me you live in a dump, because I don't think that's a good place for a child and a problem child to sleeping in. Eraser said as Akan sputtered. I am not a problem child, he pouted. And no, I don't live here, I just need to get my stuff. After this I'll be on my way home. Eraser rolled his eyes. Okay, I'll leave you to it. And with that he left to continue his patrol. Come on, Eri, Akan said, continuing to skip away. Once they get back, Izuku and Eri went into his room quietly, not wanting to wake up his mom. What is it, Eri? Izuku asked, turning to look at her. I don't know. Your name. Izuku mentally face-palmed. How can he be so stupid? Oops. My name is Midoriya Izuku, you can just call me Izuku, he said as he took off his mask. Okay. Eri yawned. Izuku ruffled her hair. Someone's tired, you can sleep on my bed tonight. But where will you sleep? On the couch. Eri looked like she wanted to say more but she didn't. What's wrong? Izuku asked. I don't want to sleep alone, she whispered. Izuku beamed as an idea popped in his head. How about we make a pillow fort? Eri tilted her head. It's like a tent but made with blankets and pillows. Eri nodded, mumbling something around the lines of, comfy. Izuku went into the kitchen to get some chairs and extra pillows. Once he got back up and found a spacious place to make the fort, he started placing chairs while Eri helped with the blankets. When they finally finished, they both went in and filled the place up with stuffies and pillows galore. Night-night, Eri. Night-a-night. Zoo. Eri whispered, already falling asleep. Izuku didn't sleep that night. Thoughts filled his mind. How is he going to tell his mom that some random girl will be illegally staying with them for a while? Izuku quietly groaned. Everything seems to be moving so fast. I'm getting a migraine just thinking about what happened in the past months. Izuku flipped over and shoved his face into the pillow, trying to find a comfortable spot. The sun is up, the birds are chirping, you could hear happy chatter outside and a green-haired kid questioning his entire existence while he stood outside his mother's door. He took a deep breath. Come on, breathe, Izuku, breathe. He hesitantly knocks on the door. The door opens to reveal a very tired Inko. Is there something you need, dear? She asked, slightly slouching on the door. What's it? You how I'm like a vigilante or whatever. Izuku smiled nervously. His mother looked him up and down, eyes scanning for any injuries. What did you do? His mother deadpanned, now standing up properly. I think it'll be better if I showed you, but please quiet and please don't get madam. Izuku lead her towards his room and slowly opened the door to show a little girl sleeping in a pillow fort. Okay. Before you say anything, you see, Izuku whispered. Basically I found her hiding from a man, which is not her father, and she looked terrified of him, so obviously and I was wondering if she could possibly, perhaps stay here for a while? Izuku sputtered out while his mom glared at him, obviously still tired. Or maybe you didn't have it and just send her to pole dash. Izuku stopped rambling once he felt a soft but firm pinch on the cheek. Izuku, it's fine, she can stay. I'm glad you at least warned me first. Once we make sure she's all well and doing better, we can find a safer place for her. If it's something more serious, then we can do whatever you think is right, okay? Inko smiled as she moved from pinching her son to ruffling his hair. I have full trust in your judgment, considering you probably handle situations like these better than me. Now, help me make breakfast for you and the girl. What's her name? Izuku smiled and walked to the kitchen with his mom. Their conversation consisted with her asking questions about the girl and him attempting to answer. Does a pork cutlet bowl sound good? Inko asked, preparing the ingredients. Oh. Is she allergic to anything? Is she lacking in vitamins? Does she even like meat? What if she wants to be a vegan? Izuku laughed at his mom's tactics. I'm sure she'll love it. Besides, if she's allergic or doesn't like it, then just more for me, OW. He got playfully slapped on the head by his mother. If you think you're going to eat a whole extra bowl of this without sharing with me, then you're far from right. Izuku and Inko both laughed until they heard a creak of a door. That must be Eri. She's probably so confused right now. I'll go get her. Izuku says, putting down the ingredients he was cutting and walking out of the kitchen. Inko watched her son walk away, smiling. Okay, Eri. This is my mom. Izuku said, pointing to where his mom was stood at. You can just call me Inko, dear. Eri hugged onto Izuku tighter but managed at a small wave. Do you want something to eat? Inko asked, already placing down the bowls. Eri looked at Izuku first, only to find him just smiling. She looked back at the bowls and slightly nodded. Great. Do you like pork? Inko pulled out a seat for Eri to sit on. Izuku and Eri walked over to the seat while Eri asked, Pork? Inko hummed, Are you allergic to anything? Eri shook her head. Why don't you try it? I changed up a bit of the recipe, so I hope you don't mind. Inko rubbed her neck. Eri examined the bowl before sipping a bit of the broth. Her eyes widened and sparkled while she smiled. So I'm guessing you like it? Inko asked, pulling out a chair for herself across the table. Eri nodded while she slurped down a bit more of the food. After both Inko and Izuku said their thanks for the food, they also started eating. Eri stared at them with a warm feeling in her chest. Is this what it's like to have a family? She thought while slightly smiling and continuing to eat her food. Once he was done eating, he had to explain to Eri that he needed to go to school and that she had to stay with his mom. She seemed sad that he was leaving but didn't complain about staying with his mom. She seems to enjoy Inko's company. Eri was waving while jumping up and down as Izuku left for school. He turned around to face them and waved back. To be fair, his day was actually quite boring. Well, as boring as being friends with a girl who blew something up every 2 seconds and a guy who looks like he could really use some melatonin gummies can get. Eyes you. He heard someone yell, and then a huge weight could suddenly be felt on his back, that he managed to catch before stumbling. I can't wait to show you more of my babies. They're so freaking awesome. Mei yelled as practically the whole school turned their heads towards her. Izuku merely chuckled. Sure, why don't we survive lunch first without getting sent to detention from you screaming and disrupting everyone? He earned a light smack from Mei. You're starting to sound like Ida. She deadpanned. Hey Mei, hey Aizu, ho dash, Hitoshi started before getting cut off by Mei. Oh, so you use Izuku's nickname but not mine. She says, crossing her arms and yanking her body away from Hitoshi, which caused Izuku to stumble considering she was still on his shoulders. Hitoshi rolled his eyes. I'm surprised you guys haven't toppled over yet. Just how strong are you? Izuku smiled. Well, I've been trying to gain some muscle ever since junior high, so it makes sense. Makes sense? Mei's like 10 times your height. Stop over-exaggerating it. You're making me sound like I'm an ant. Well, about that, Aizu. Mei said, making Hitoshi laugh while Izuku just grumbled. Anyways, are you both fully ready for the sports festival? Mei asked, finally getting off of Izuku. Both Izuku and Hitoshi nodded while they got their lunch. That's great. Because I'm going to need both of you for the whole day to listen to how awesome my babies are. Hitoshi groaned while Izuku smiled and shook his head. He was seriously so lucky to have friends like his. Izuku took a deep breath, rubbing his temples as he double-checked his equipment again. Along with the roller skates and bow staff, he also decided to get more of the explosion-proof cloth that costed him a couple of his All Might merch. Not that he minds since he doesn't really like the guy anymore. Zuku? Are you almost ready? He heard his mom say outside the door. Yeah, I'm done. He responds, picking up his backpack and racing down the stairs. His mom greeted him with a smile. Make sure you do your best. I'll be watching from my workplace at any time I get. Izuku nodded with his signature smile and sprinted out the door. He was a bit early to school due to his excitement, but there were already so many people there. Hi Midoriya. Uraraka exclaimed, hee, it seems we're one of the only ones in our friend group here so far. She smiled, embarrassed. Izuku nodded. Are you excited for the sports festival? Yeah. I'm so pumped, I'm going to give it my all. Are you going to be participating? Uraraka asks. Yeah. I'm not sure how I'm going to do though. I've always wanted to be a hero ever since I was a kid, but considering I'm, quirkless, I'm not sure how I'm going to make it to a decent score since everyone has these amazing quirks. Uraraka's smile faltered and turned into a comforting one. I'm sure you'll do great, Mito. Even if you don't have a quirk, you can still do amazing. Maybe you'll be the first quirkless hero. Izuku's eyes widened as he looked up at Uraraka. Why, you really think so? Uraraka nodded with a determined look in her eyes. Thank you. Izuku whispered. Well, I think you should probably head to class now. I know how grumpy Aizawa can be. Oh, you've met Mr. Aizawa? Uraraka tilted her head. Izuku's eyes slightly widened as he thought, sheet. I shouldn't have said that. Think, thin dash. He helped me to the nurse's office when I fell. Oh, I hope you're doing alright, and yeah, you're right, I should get going now. See you soon, Mito. Uraraka waved as she ran off to homeroom. I'm so lucky I have actually met him as Izuku Midoriya, or that would have been awkward. Izuku sighed as he tried to maneuver through the thick crowd of pedestrians. There are so many people here, should I try to buy some food before? No, I'm going to be late if I do. He mumbles until he reaches his homeroom. Good morning. A loud voice called in English once everyone was in their seats. If you all couldn't tell, today is the school's sports festival. I'm sure you guys have already decided on your support items, if you're participating, but you can still ask for last-minute items as long as it's not too difficult to make in our short amount of time. All support items you asked for that cannot be fitted in your backpack will be located in the support department. So if you have something you need to get, then I am dismissing you to go get it now. A couple of students left at his dismissal. Once they all left, Mr. Yamada continued again. If you are not participating in the event, you will go to the designated seats on the bleachers for students. It should have sign there saying which department it's for, but if you're not sure where to sit or there aren't any seats left, then ask a local teacher where to go or just sit with your friend from the other departments. You are all dismissed. And remember to go, plus ultra. The classroom also screamed, plus ultra, with Mr. Yamada before excitedly leaving and heading towards the stadiums, support rooms, or the training areas to prepare for the school's biggest event. Although all of Izuku's gear could fit in his backpack, he decided to go to the support classroom anyway to say hi to Mei. He opened the door right as an explosion went off. There was dust everywhere, especially on Mei. Oops. Mei giggled. Hiiz. Do you need any extra gear? Izuku shook his head. Just wanted to check up on you. Mei engulfed him in a hug. That's so sweet of you. Mei let go of him and looked at her watch. We could probably close off the workshop now and head to our places before we're late. Izuku nodded in agreement as he followed Mei. He looked around and saw Todoroki talking to Kacchan, who was looking like he was ready to kill him. Izuku's eyes lingered on Todoroki. He's always wanted to write an analysis page about him but was too shy to try to ask him to confirm his theories. He felt a tug on his sleeve. Look, there's Hito. Mei says before jumping up and down while waving her arms. Hito. This caused the insomniac to flinch and almost trip. Hitoshi looked up at them and started walking over with an annoyed expression. Do you need anything? He asked, glaring at Mei. We should all stick together if there are any group challenges. Mei exclaims. There are group challenges? Questions Hitoshi. Yeah, obviously. Heroes need to team up with each other too. Hitoshi grumbled at this, not liking the idea. Yeah, sure, we'll stick together. Better than me going with strangers and having to explain my quirk. Izuku laughs apologetically at this, being able to relate to it and all. Everyone gathered around on the field and watched as Kaken walks up the stage. Izuku felt a pain in his heart. Pain for what? He's always admired Kaken as a kid and he just wished they were still friends. I just want to say, I'm gonna win. Never mind. Izuku took it all back. He couldn't help but snort as the whole crowd started booing. Midnight had announced the first game, Obstacle Course. Everyone got up to the starting point and sprinted as soon as they heard the words, Start. Izuku almost face-planted as sudden ice appeared beneath his feet, but he quickly regained himself. Awesome. I get to test out my skates, he smiled as he clicked the wheels out and started pushing. He quickly slid past all of the other contestants and was catching up to Todoroki. But his smile didn't last for long as he saw everyone else starting to regain their momentum. He pushed his feet side to side with such force he was starting to scratch the ice. Suddenly robots popped out and blocked their path. He got his bow staff out and climbed a robot to slash its circuits. Once he took one down, he quickly advanced forward. He was reaching the edge of the path and saw many platforms with rope connecting them to each other. I mean, it wouldn't be an obstacle course without, well, obstacles. He used his bow staff to push himself into the air and onto one of the rocky platforms. Once he was on, he realized the other platforms were way too far, so he had to use the rope instead. He climbed the rope upside down like a sloth, a really fast sloth, and flipped himself upright onto the ground and continued skating until he heard an explosion. And the reality here is, it's a minefield. Not to worry, these mines are used for games, so they're not that powerful. Izuku thought long and hard about the last words and skated towards the minefield. He moved the mines together and grabbed a piece of metal from one of the robots. He looked at the mines and thought, am I really about to do this? Yeah, I'm about to do this. He slammed into the mines at full force and the force was quickly returned as he went flying into the air. Whoa! Izuku Midoriya from Class 1C has gone airborne. I promise you I didn't teach him that. Yamada screamed as Aizawa's eyes widened. Izuku was quickly passing both Todoroki and Kaken, who were in the lead, and once he was lowered to the ground he slammed down the metal and used his arms to propel himself further. With his skates, he was sliding at a speed he could barely control. He passed the finish line. And his whole body crashed into a wall. He clutched his now bleeding nose before turning towards the camera and smiling as wide as his face would let him. Once more students piled in, he found Mei and Hitoshi. Hey. It's Mr. First Place. How was your makeout session with the wall? Mei exclaimed once she saw Izuku. Izuku turned red and rubbed the back of his neck, quickly changing the subject. So what place did you guys get? I got 17th. Oh man, you should have seen me with my grappling hook. Everyone will want to buy from me now. Mei shouted, doing a little happy dance. 22nd. Some guy trampled over me, so I made him slam his head into the wall. Hitoshi answered a bit too nonchalant for the words that just came out of his mouth. Once everyone was done, they announced only the first 50 people who finished will continue with the games. Students were piling out while Midnight announced the next game, Cavalry Battle. Many students groaned and others cheered at this. Points will be decided on what place you got in the obstacle course. First place gets 10 million points. Izuku instantly felt eyes on him and subconsciously tried to disappear into the ground. Too bad he's not Mirio. Who's Mirio? Izuku shook his head and focused back towards Midnight, who was announcing other people's points. After explaining the rules, Midnight gave them 15 minutes to choose teams. Izuku, Mei, and Hitoshi quickly gathered around each other. Who should we choose as our fourth teammate? Hitoshi asked. Mei scanned the crowd and spotted a nervous-looking girl. Hey Izu, don't you know that girl? Mei, I can't see as far as you. Izuku replied. Short brown hair, roundish face? Looks like she's a lost child looking for her parent. Oh, Uraraka? Yeah, she's nice and her quirk is really useful. The three walked over to Uraraka and invited her to their team. Of course I'll join your team. I was kinda getting nervous there since Ida said he didn't want to team up with me. She nervously laughed. Once they decided that Izuku was going to be the rider, they got into position. Once the game started, everyone instantly aimed for Midoriya. What should we do, Mr. Man? Mei asked. Mr. What? Never mind. Just dodge everyone until the majority of students stop focusing on us. Izuku replied. I can help with that. Uraraka said as she sent a random person floating, causing their team to tip over. Once less people were surrounding him, Kaken instantly targeted Izuku. Deku! Get over here! Explosions blasted near Izuku's shoulder, but his team was fast on their feet. Another explosion aimed for Mei caused them to stumble. More explosions blasted in all directions, none fully hitting them thanks to the three on the bottom. Sheet, we can't keep this up for long. Think of something, Izuku. Think. Izuku's thoughts were cut off by Hitoshi suddenly shouting, You know. For someone who said they were gonna win, I expected better. What did US get on the floor? Kaken's team are now struggling to keep him up. While anger issues was thrashing around, Izuku's team managed to get away, only to have their headbands swiped by Todoroki. What happened to swipe or no swiping? Izuku mumbled as he looked back at Todoroki's team who were sprinting far away. Okay, change of plans. Try to grab everyone and anyone's headbands as quick as you can. The three bellow nodded and started sprinting. The swiped headbands left and right and quickly rose the ranks. Not close enough. Izuku thought before opening his mouth. Try to get people with higher points disqualified. But still mostly aim for the headbands. Once again the three below him sped up, but now they're random people floating and falling. Time's up. Everyone heard Midnight say. Izuku's team sighed of relief. They managed to get third place even though they didn't have the 10 million headband. Izuku flopped backwards, forgetting he was on Hitoshi's shoulders, and sent him and Hitoshi to the ground, causing the two girls to burst out into cackles. Uraraka suddenly got really energetic again and shouts, I'm so excited for the final game. I'm pretty sure it's a one-on-one fight. I hope I can see you guys on the stadium. Winning this means a lot for me and my parents. Izuku smiled. I hope so too. Izuku then got closer to Uraraka and put his hand up in a whispering motion, although, warning, if you get Mei prepared to be a walking sponsor for the whole battle. Uraraka laughed at this and played along. Aye, Captain. I'll keep that in mind. I have to go get ready now, break a leg. Not literally though, please don't hurt yourself. She smiled and ran off. Once they announced who fought with who, Izuku was a bit worried and excited. Alt-hot he had self-deprecating thoughts now and then that didn't mean he ignored any talents he had. In other words, he was pretty confident with the starting fights. What he was worried about were the last two fights. If Todoroki and Kaken both make it to the end with him, which he was pretty confident they were, then he would have to go up against Todoroki first. If he even survived the match with Todoroki, then he would have to face Kaken. He shivered at the thought of his childhood friend beating his to a pulp. He took a closer look at the chart and realized Hitoshi would have to go up against Kaken if he wants to advance from third place. Oh, his poor soul. Izuku pitied Hitoshi for having to deal with his not-so-friendly friend. Izuku went out to take a walk and stretch a bit, only to find Todoroki calling him over. You didn't use your quirk yet, you beat me and you got third place even though I got your headband. I will surpass you. Izuku was beyond confused and he was guessing he was bad at hiding it since Todoroki continued to explain, my father is Endeavor. Since he could never beat All Might, he had me. Do you know what a quirk marriage is? Izuku's eyes widened. Once he was in possession of my mom, he quickly took advantage of it, trying to make the perfect quirk. Therefore I will beat you without using my fire side. Todoroki walked away. W8. Izuku called out but Todoroki just ignored him. Izuku sighed and continued to walk down the hallway only to be stopped again. By All Might. Just. Luck. Izuku thought. Young Midoriya, if you, by some chance, get a high ranking and are given a choice to transfer to the hero course, I do advise that you don't. Please understand that I am merely concerned for your safety and the safety of other heroes in training. I don't want to see another hero die. All Might quickly walked away, not letting him even react, with some sort of steam coming off of his body. Another hero die? Many heroes die, even with quirks. Geez, this man is giving me a headache. Izuku mumbled, quickly walking back to the waiting area, not wanting to get stopped by another person. He was resting his head on his hand as Hitoshi walked over to him. Just by looking at Izuku's frustrated, almost pained, expression, Hitoshi could tell something was wrong. Aizu? You alright there? Yeah, I'm Izuku started before getting cut off. No, you're not. Did something happen? Izuku sighed and mumbled something along the lines of, All Might. Hitoshi thought about this for a second before coming to the conclusion. He knows you're quirkless and said something quirkist, or at least extremely rude? Izuku half-heartedly nodded, then suddenly becoming energetic again. Don't worry though, I'm not letting it get to my head. I've already made it this far. It still kinda hurts, you know? Hitoshi nodded in understanding. Well, come on. Your fight is about to start and you're going up against Edgy Bird Boy. Hitoshi said, making Izuku snicker. Izuku got up and stretched, hearing a satisfying pop, and made sure he was ready before hearing his name called for the tournament. His next couple of fights after Tokoyami weren't bad at all. He would even say he was proud of himself. He's come a long way, starting from a shy, quirkless, bullying target to a less shy, secretly a vigilante, quirkless, bullying target. He's also gained some muscles, occasionally pretending he was a big, strong, buff, 8-foot man when he flexed in his mirror, but if someone were to ask, he would deny that he's ever done or thought about doing such a thing. But now, he's a bit nervous and all of his previous pride had sprinted away into the horizon. He was up next with Todoroki. His first plan was to try to beat him and get that first place he's always dreamt about, but now he also wants to sit down with him and have a therapy session mid-battle. Izuku didn't have much more time to question his existence as he was called up. Once he was on the field, he and Todoroki shared eye contact. Well, more like Todoroki emotionlessly glaring at him while he looked like he was about to disintegrate and disappear. There was instantly an icy blast as the words, "Go," played, and it flung Izuku off of his balance and into the sky, but he quickly grabbed hold of the top of the ice and pulled himself over. Izuku extended his bow staff and swiped at Todoroki's knees. Todoroki froze the bow staff, giving himself enough time to move out the way and send more ice towards Izuku. Izuku yanked his bow staff out of the ice hold and slammed it into the incoming ice, shattering it. The two were fighting at such an insane amount of speed that to the crowd it merely looked like the movie Frozen but made by violent kids and an occasional green flash taking down Elsa's castle. Izuku snickered at the memory of his mom showing him the movie Frozen and ranting about how cool Elsa is, pun intended. Izuku's confidence was starting build up, so without a second thought he shouted, "You know, this would end so much faster if you used your fire side." This got Todoroki annoyed and made him more aggressive. Todoroki then responded, "Why would I use his quirk?" Izuku rolled his eyes. "Last time I checked, Endeavor isn't a 15-year-old with an ice and fire quirk. How could it be his quirk when he's not you?" Todoroki had a confused look in his eyes, so Izuku elaborated, "What I'm trying to say is, it's not his quirk, it's yours." Todoroki didn't look fully convinced, so Izuku such tactics and smirked. "I mean, like, if you're trying to make him mad, wouldn't he be more mad if you used your quirk on your own accord?" "No, that would make him happy." Todoroki deadpanned, his aggression still persistent as ever. "Sure, you're right, he would be happy for the time being, but imagine the anger he would feel once he realizes you're no longer in his control." Izuku then raised his voice, mocking a disapproving mother. "Oh my goodness, Todoroki, he would be terribly sad." Todoroki seemed to think about these words for a moment because his fighting grew calmer. He then looked Izuku in the eyes. "You asked for this." Fire filled the arena, melting the ice beforehand and caused Izuku to immediately switch from freezing to getting toasted alive. Still, Izuku persists. If anything, he seems to be fighting 10x harder than he did before. The crowd, ed and ed as they watched the battleground turn into an appealing dance of fire and ice, and the occasional green running around patting fire off of their clothing. Should have gotten fireproof clothes, DMN it. Izuku thought while running around trying not to get burnt alive, I need to end this quickly. Izuku got his bow staff ready and awaited the ice blast. Once the blast came, he quickly used the same tactic as the beginning and flung himself over it, pushing himself into Todoroki and sliding them near the edge. With one final push from his staff, Todoroki was out of bounds and the field was now visible to the crowd. When Todoroki looked up at Izuku, Izuku expected an angered expression but was pleased to find Todoroki was slightly smiling. Izuku offered his hand and Todoroki accepted, unlike Mr. I'm the best. Todoroki used Izuku to pull himself off the floor while they announced Izuku as the winner, but Izuku didn't stay long as his nerves got to him and went to throw up in the restrooms. Is it bad that I don't have a lot of faith that Hito will be beating Kaken? Izuku asked, rubbing his eyes as he watched Hito walk out onto the field. You gave the explosive kid a nickname? And honestly, before this he told me he also highly doubted that he would win. Mei answered, pulling out a bag of popcorn. Now shush. They're about to fight. Izuku then got a call from Kaken's mom. Izuku hasn't talked to her for a while, so he wondered what this was about. He excused himself and walked away to answer the phone. Hello. Izuku? Your mom is in the hospital right now. She got caught in a villain fight. I know you're busy and I would tell Katsuki to come to visit your mother, but I can't exactly call him while he's fighting. Izuku's eyes widened at this. Mom? Is she okay? Are you already here? Izuku heard shuffling on the other side. Yeah, I'm at the front gates right now. I don't know much about your mom's condition though, I just got notified about this. Okay, I'll go there right now, bye. Izuku quickly hung up and went to the nearest teacher, which was Aizawa. Excuse me? My mom's in the hospital right now. Is it okay if I get excused from school? Izuku asked. I'll notify the principal. You should go to your mom. Aizawa instantly responded. Izuku nodded and sprinted out the gates and into Mitsuki's car. Mrs. Bakugo had tear streaks down her face that she obviously tried to wipe off before he came here. The ride was silent for the whole way. Hello, I'm here for a Midoriya Inko. Mrs. Bakugo said. All right, what is your relationship with her? The lady behind counter started typing aggressively as all nurses do. I'm her friend and this is her son, Mrs. Bakugo said, pointing towards Izuku. Okay. She should be in room 335. Mrs. Bakugo just nodded before speed walking to Inko's room with Izuku trailing behind. Once they got to room 335, Mrs. Bakugo quickly opened the door, revealing Inko lying on the bed while reading a book. Inko quickly looked over at the two and exclaimed, Mitsuki! Izuku! It was getting kind of lonely in here, I'm glad you guys came. The two of them quickly walked up to the side of Inko's bed. Are you alright? You're not too hurt, are you? Mrs. Bakugo asked in a rare worry. Inko laughed before replying, Don't worry, I didn't get too injured. Although, the ceiling fell right on my left leg, so it's going to be hard to walk for a while. Mrs. Bakugo sighed of relief. The way the officer explained it made it sound like you got smashed into a plane. Anyways, I'm glad you're doing alright. Sorry my little brat couldn't make it, but he'll come next visit. I'll leave you and Izuku some alone time. She handed Inko a small box and left. Inko put the box to the side and looked at Izuku before playfully smacking him on the head. Now just because I'm injured doesn't mean we're ignoring that little stunt you pulled in the obstacle race. Izuku's face grew red from embarrassment. Hee. Why, you saw that? Of course I saw that. I was watching you the whole time while doing my work, she said as she ruffled Izuku's hair. But seriously, I'm really proud of you, Izuku. You've come so far. I remember when you were only a child and wanted to help me hold groceries. The moment you gripped the bag, you face planted onto the ground. Izuku rolled his eyes and groaned, smashing his face on the bed. Moom. Inko laughed. When Bakugo heard that Izuku had to leave early, so he was automatically placed in first place, he was said. He wanted to shove Deku's face into the ground and get the medal the fair way. Each time they told him to get to the stadium to receive his medal, he refused, resulting in them restraining him. Once he was back home, he threw the medal onto his desk. I'll just save it for when me and Deku actually fight. Then I'll gladly hang it on my wall when I win. Bakugo mumbled before checking the time and headed towards the shower. It was already dark out when Izuku finally got home to Eri after running like a madman when he realized she was home alone. Mother, I'm sorry you got caught in a villain attack but leaving poor Eri alone? Everyone's trying to give me a heart attack. Izuku cried internally. He slammed open the door and was greeted with the sight of Eri sitting peacefully on the sofa, watching TV. Oh, thank goodness. Izuku sighed. Hello, Eri. Sorry, Mom's not here, something bad happened. Eri panicked at his words. Bad? Where? She asked, looking around nervously. Izuku sat down on the sofa with her and tried to calm her down. Don't worry, the bad's not here. The bad is with my mom right now. Eri's eyes widened and Izuku quickly added, but don't worry. It's a temporary bad, but she'll have to stay in the hospital for some time. She'll be better? Eri whispered with tears in her eyes. Izuku smiled and whispered back, yes, she's strong. She can make it through anything. She's a hero, maybe not to the world, but to me she is. Eri nodded, wiping her tears away. My hero too. They both pulled each other into a warm embrace. Izuku turned off the TV and smiled as Eri yawned. Let's get some sleep, yeah? I can take you to visit Mom after school tomorrow. Eri nodded excitedly. Izuku picked Eri up and went back into his room where the pillow fort still was. He tucked Eri in the blankets and was about to leave when he heard a sleepy voice say, Zoo? Izuku chuckled. Yes, Eri? You're my hero too. Izuku smiled, tears forming, as he watched Eri drift off into sleep. Yeah, I am a hero. Even without a quirk, I can still be anyone's hero. He thought as he walked off. Looking back at the pillow fort as he was about to close his door, he whispered, You're my hero too. Izuku can? Deku? Ran out of the house in his vigilante uniform. Not to do vigilante? Well, not intending to do vigilante things. You can never really guess what's about to happen, but to do Deku things. Outside. In the open. In his Akan form. Wow, this is almost as stupid as when I chose Death as my fake name, he laughed. As stupid as what? Akan? Deku? Oh my god, he's having an identity crisis. Froze as he heard an all-so-familiar voice. Why don't my headphones work when I need them? He screamed in his head. He turned around, similar to a broken robot. What? I seriously didn't hear you. Eraserhead replied with a quirked brow. You know what? You kids are weird these days, I don't want to know. As Izuku heard those words, he felt like someone just saved him from a moving truck. Akan started laughing. Oh, why not? I'd love to talk about how I pulled a stupid move on a video game but ended up beating those a-holes anyway. Nope. Absolutely not. Also, mind your language. I know how you kids are. If I let you get one word out about your video game, you'll be talking about it for 3 hours. Eraserhead exclaimed. Why do you always say, you kids, are you like, ancient or something? Sometimes I feel like I am. Everyone is going to make me die early. You look like you had gray hairs by the age of 15. Ouch. Eraserhead suddenly straightened his back. Anyways, it was silent for a moment. Akan was utterly lost before he heard a cough and whisper. User 9986757. Everything went still for a moment. What? Akan replied. Is that like your username in a game or something? Why would you choose only numbers for a user? Luum. Demenit. I really thought it was, Eraserhead sighed. Whatever. What are you doing out here? Mr. Eraserhead, sir. I am a vigilante. Izuku rolled his eyes before rocking back and forth on his feet. Will, I do need to find a specific villain. If you're willing to help, wink wink, Izuku shot Eraser some finger guns. Eraserhead rolled his eyes. I'll buy you coffee, Izuku said. Hello there. What would you like to order? A man with waist-length hair greeted them. Wait, let me guess? Black coffee with too much caffeine to be considered legal? Also, would you like the unicorn drink again for the little one? It's off the menu, but I don't mind making it for you. The two villain fighters blinked at each other in confusion. Oh, sorry for not explaining myself. I'm the same barista as before. I simply have a gender-changing quirk and currently prefer the male one as of now. Lin chuckled. Oh, sorry about that. Yes on the coffee but no on the unicorn drink. She's currently sleeping right now. Izuku responded. All good, all good. Feel free to come anytime with her. Yeah. She's really adorable. Lin exclaimed. You know, I used to have a little sister, similar to her. She recently passed due to my carelessness. Please, give her a happy life. I know I'm just a stranger, but give her all the love and attention you can. Before it's too late. Lin turned his back as he went to make the coffee, missing Izuku's sad expression. Poor dude, he looks around, what? 17? He lost his sister and has to work graveyard shifts alone? Geez. Yeah, too bad he's a suspect for one of the villains. Eraserhead casually says. Izuku whipped his head towards him, shocked. Oh, don't worry. I personally don't believe any of that bull CRP, but it is one of the reasons I asked you to buy me coffee. Eraser motioned him to come over. Once Izuku sat down, Eraserhead started, You know, you're familiar with Deku, right? Izuku felt chills running up his spine. Yeah. Oh, what the heck, I'll just say it. I think we may have leads on who he is. What? Wait. You're not gonna expose him, are you? I'll have you know he's a good friend of mine. Well, I consider him a friend at least, so dash. Geez, kid, don't worry. I'm not gonna expose him or whatever. I'll have you know I think he's a good kid. But the reason I don't want him to get caught is not because of police and legal issues. It's because of the UA principle. The mouse rat thing? Yeah. The mouse rat thing. He's caught interest in Deku as he was stupid enough to put his code name on a test site from UA. Izuku felt his world collapse. Oh, gee, why am I this stupid? First associating myself with the word useless, and now the principal knows. If Kaken were to call me Deku, I would be so exposed. Eraser continued. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you are him or know him personally, that is either your warning or his. If you seriously aren't him, then please warn him. Izuku nodded, feeling his heart sink deeper. I am so effed. Will can do, Mr. Sir. I'll literally just text him right now. As Izuku texted on his phone, he was aware of Eraserhead observing his phone. He also wasn't aware he brought out his personal phone. He also wasn't aware of Eraserhead saying in his mind, okay, so either he's really up to the charade of, I'm not Deku, or he's seriously not Deku. Eraser internally sighed. 2 steps forward, 100 steps back. Your orders are ready. Lin exclaimed. Sorry it took so long, one of the machines wasn't cooperating. That's all right, thank you. Eraser replied as he took the coffee. He looked over to Akan, who currently was pulling puppy eyes on him. Fine. You can follow me around as I watch for villains. Akan pumped his fist and brightly smiled behind his mask. What a familiar smile. Eraserhead thought as he left the coffee shop with a hyper-illegal child behind him. Maybe this kid has an insomnia quirk or something. Does he never get tired? Patrolling with Eraserhead is seriously a blast. Akan thought before he got slammed into a wall. Oh, cock. I didn't mean it literally. Akan threw a small explosive at the villain before jumping away. Demed kid. Where'd he go? The villain shouted as his chains retracted. Akan whispered to Eraser, can you try to see how far his chains go? Eraser nodded. The two of them split up in opposite directions, causing the villain to send both of his chains toward them. Izuku ran down the street for a bit until the chains seemed to be forcefully stopped. About 15 feet, not bad but not impressive. Izuku mumbled. He made a U-turn and came back towards the villain, making sure to zebra run between the chains. Once the chain formed a sort of loop, he jumped through, successfully knotting it but not stopping it. Eraser seemed to get the message as he, too, turned around. They both jumped into a frenzy and started going in random directions. Well, random to the villain at least. Stay still goddamn it. What the foo dash? He shouted before realizing what was happening all too late. The villain was already tied up and the cops were being called. You any pussies? Come and fight me like real heroes. The villain started screaming out insults. He's the villain known for the recent kidnappings on XX Street. We're current dash. That's all Izuku heard out of Eraser's phone call before sprinting off as he didn't want to get caught. Eraser felt a lack of presence and looked around. Sheet. You just missed the kid. He shouldn't be too far off, so hurry. After a couple of minutes of running, Izuku heard sirens and looked back to find some minor pro heroes chasing him. Why Eraser? But I thought we were best bros. Izuku cried internally as he started speeding up. One of the girls suddenly started glowing before launching herself high in the air. A gravity quirk? No, her momentum hasn't changed. Maybe strengthening? Cool quirk. Ikan thought mesmerized and lost in thought before he suddenly didn't feel ground anymore. Sheet. Grab the kid. He heard the girl scream. Nope. He panicked as he pushed a foot off the wall to boost himself forward. Grabbing hold of a pole and doing a 180, he ran backwards and into an alley and hid behind a garbage bin. He ran into an alley we should have cornered. A deep voice exclaimed. You search the area. The girl from before ordered. One of the guys from the group, one with a mutant quirk, heard crinkling in the garbage bin. He cautiously approached it, careful not to make any noise. He grabbed the lid and yanked it open to finally find nothing there. He swore under his breath and walked away. Ikan was giggling from above after having thrown something down behind the bin. Smart move. Ikan yelped and whipped his head around to find Eraser sitting right next to him. OMG. You need to stop doing that to me. Ikan sighed. Why don't you want to get caught so badly? You won't get into legal trouble since there's no proof of you using a quirk. If it were that simple, I wouldn't need this mask and hoodie, Eraser Dad. Eraser what? You know what? Never mind. But I mean seriously, can you at least tell me the reason? Well, I guess that my job isn't done. I haven't finished what I intend to do. And what is that? Be a hero. Eraserhead sighed, completely exhausted. You know, you can do that legally, right? You seem young. You could enroll in a hero school. I'm sure you would make it. It's not that simple. Hero schools don't like my kind. Izuku frowned but quickly changed subjects. Anywho, I need help with something, do you mind? Eraser gestured for him to go on. Well, I need to track down specific people, villains, of course. Ikan looked for Aizawa's sign of permission Aizawa was happy to give with a nod. Do you know anything about the villain duel on XX Street when the sports festival at UDA was taking place? Eraser thought for a moment before responding, not personally, but I do know the hero that was involved in it. Izuku looked at him curiously, eager to know. She's a small-time hero but a hero nonetheless. Her hero name is Raging Airplane. I know her personally, though it'd be weird if you just showed up to her house even in your civilian form. What do you suggest then? Izuku asked. You're a kid, right? Why not ask your teacher if you can intern with her, Eraser suggested. Why do you assume I'm in the hero course? You may not be now, but you will be with how you performed at the sports festival. What? Okay, I know I'm a crazy nerd fan thing, but I didn't break into the sports festival and participate. Eraser rolled his eyes. Say that to the kid who had to get pulled out because his mom was in the hospital because of the exact duel you were talking about. Eraser suddenly cleared his throat and got up. Anyways, I need to go, my patrol ended a long time ago. Izuku stared at the shrinking form with his jaw to the ground. He smacked himself a couple of times, yelling curses. Oh my god. I'm so stupid. Why did I participate? Why do I have no brain cells? What happened to being smart, Izuku? Ahai. Izuku dragged himself back home in despair. What was he going to do now? Aizawa chuckled as he heard distant yelling. He knows he should probably turn the kid in so he could become a hero legally. Knowing the cops and everyone else, they probably wouldn't care and just throw him in juvenile. But he technically isn't even a part of the law, considering how rare quirkless kids are. Aizawa got a growing migraine thinking about the future paperwork. What if I… no. Bad Aizawa. You can't just let a kid do dangerous activities. Aizawa grumbled to himself as he came closer to his house. I'll sleep it off for now. Decide what to do later. Izuku ran to his house at full speed and jumped into his window. And freaked out, slamming his head in his bed a couple of times and attempted suffocation via pillow. Ag! He screamed into his pillow that was failing at its job of killing him off. If I could literally die of embarrassment, these would be my last moments. Izuku looked over to the pillow fort, making sure to lower his voice so as to not wake Eri up. Izuku sighed and stared at his ceiling. Guess I will attempt to get into the hero program. Hopefully not the Insomniac Dad's class though. Would he tell anyone about my identity? What if he exposes me to the cops? If I come to school tomorrow and then get surrounded, I'm actually making sure I die. Okay, maybe not die. I still have mom after all. Plus, if she didn't have a quirkless freak for a son, she would have been a great lawyer. She could hopefully bail me out of it. Izuku's thoughts rambled before he started finally snoring while Eri peeked her eyes open, looking at him like he had 3 heads. Aizu, sir? Aizu? Aizu. Ah. Izuku yelled as he fell off the bed to see Eri's face above him. Your square thing has been making noises. It's very loud. Eri whispered. Izuku suddenly heard the blaring of his school alarm. Izuku looked over at the clock to find that he was 20 minutes late already. Sheet, he whispered under his breath. Sorry about that, Eri. I'm late for school. You make sure you stay safe, okay? Don't open the doors to strangers. Izuku hurriedly got up and put on his clothes before rushing into the bathroom. Eri nodded but was still annoyed that the alarm was still going off, so she started playing with it. She made it quieter, but it didn't stop. Then the numbers changed. It still didn't stop. The numbers disappeared. It still didn't stop. The clock got louder. Still didn't stop. She covered her ears in annoyance. I see, she cried out. Izuku popped his head in as he saw the scene and chuckled to himself before walking over and turning it off for her. Sorry about that, Eri. He rubbed his neck shyly before grabbing his backpack and running out of the house, yelling his goodbyes to Eri. The trip to school was making him more nervous than when Eraser found out his identity. He couldn't slow down his heart beating as he walked into the school gates, fully expecting to be surrounded by cops and get arrested. As he walked into his first class with Mr. Yamada, he saw the students were, for once, quiet. He saw his teacher quickly grab his phone and type something when he saw Izuku before smiling and walking his way. Your classmates are taking a test right now. Since class is going to end soon, you can make it up tomorrow, he answered Izuku's thoughts. When Izuku nodded, he continued, Why were you late today? Izuku shyly looked away. I didn't have the best sleep last night and accidentally slept through my alarm. Sorry, Mr. Yamada. Izuku bowed in apologies, expecting his teacher to be mad at him and give him an unnecessary amount of trouble as most his junior high school teachers did. When he looked up, instead of seeing a crossed look on his teacher's face, he found a small smile instead. Did he know? Izuku worried. It's all right, we all had bad nights. Go sit down with your classmates. Yamada responded. Izuku nodded warily and went to sit down. His heart was beating so fast he thought he was going to die. He couldn't help the pool of guilt he felt in his stomach. It was eating away at his insides like acid. He felt close to a panic attack. After a while of trying to calm himself down, he finally heard the eel ring and rushed out before being stopped by his teacher. The principal asked to see you. You know where his office is, right? Izuku nodded, swallowing dryly. He walked to the principal's office ready to actually melt down to the ground and cry. Does everyone know? He thought as he felt like all eyes were on him even though there were no students around. The walls were looking at him, judging. The ground was mocking him. The ceiling was ready to collapse. Out of those 3, he felt like the ceiling. He slowly opened the door of the principal's office to find the evil rat thing sitting there as he imagined. He took a big gulp. Hello there, Midoriya Izuku. T. Nezu asked. Izuku shook his head no, not trusting his voice. I sure hope you know why you're here. Izuku felt his blood run cold at his words, but I will say it anyway. Izuku slowly looked up before the rat continued. Your performance at the sports festival was outstanding, placing you in 2nd place. We would like to talk to you about placing you in the Heroes course. Izuku wanted to cry of relief. He had never loved the universe more. He wanted to thank his mom, his bow staff, his hoodie, his all-might call. Izuku's head fully snapped up as he looked around. Just as he thought, Aizawa was sitting on a chair to his far right, looking all smug. So, Midoriya, what do you say? If you do say yes, we can get you in Aizawa's classroom by today. Although, you wouldn't be able to do anything besides take notes, as we do need your parents' permission and we need them to sign some paperwork. Nedzu watched him carefully. I'm not, is it? What about my status? Wouldn't it be dash? Izuku stuttered before getting cut off by the principal. Yes, we don't know how the public would react to a quirkless student being put in the hero course. Luckily, I had already thought far ahead of that. You needn't worry about your safety or the school's image, we have that figured out. But what about the stud dash? Izuku started worrying again. I assure you that quirk discrimination is not something to be taken lightly at this school. Nedzu stated. But dash, Midoriya? Nedzu cut him off again. All we need is a simple yes or no. Izuku looked around before staring at Eraserhead. Aizawa smiled and gave him a small nod. Izuku's face finally broke into a wide smile. I would love to. Nedzu nodded, as I was expecting from you. Mr. Aizawa will walk you to his class after this meeting and will give you your new, improved, schedule tomorrow. I am going to need you back in this office for another meeting with your parents after school today. See you soon, Midoriya. Thank you, Mr. Nedzu. Izuku exclaimed with renewed energy and bowed his goodbye before following Aizawa out the door.